coming off the block with this one. Yes, sir. Yeah. What up, Lan? Yeah. What we doing? Bearded conversation, homie, tap in. Why you hating? You already know we locked in. The world's greatest. Broadcasting live and they love it, but don't judge it. Off the block, giving it back. Bearded conversation, homie, tap in. Why you hating? You already know we locked in. The world's greatest. Broadcasting live and they love it, but don't judge us. Damn. Got it off the block, forming a dynasty from a rock. Laid back in the cut, press play, can't get enough. Yo, let's chop it up in every location. A bearded conversation, opportunity keep knocking like child support payments. Started from the bottom like basements, now we famous. Podcast official, the topic will probably hit you from a distance like a pistol. Subscribe so you can listen to survival of the fittest. We talking it how we living it. Rolling like a dealership, managing several businesses. T-shirts, podcast, no, you don't need a membership. Just follow us on YouTube, Knowledge Supreme Infinite. Chicago got a different exotic, let's talk about it. Going live, check your notifications so you can holler. Or leave it in the comments, debate it, just being honest. Chicago topics, worldwide views, we supersonic. Big Angus Congress, circle back round like every week. Tell a friend off the block, it's where we meet. Bearded conversation, homie, tap in. Why you hating? You already know we locked in. The world's greatest. Broadcasting live and they love it, but don't judge us. Got it off the block, giving it back to hood lovers. Bearded conversation, homie, tap in. Why you hating? You already know we locked in. The world's greatest. Broadcasting live and they love it, but don't judge us. Got it off the block, giving it back. Come on. The hood lovers, off the block, giving it back. The hood lovers, broadcasting live. Off the block, giving it back. Bearded conversation off the block, giving it back. Bearded conversation off the block, giving it back. Bearded conversation off the block, giving it back.
Yo. Welcome to another episode of Bearded Conversation, man. We in the building tonight, y'all. It's Wild Ass Wednesday. How everybody doing? What's going on? Y'all know how I like to start off every show. First and foremost, man, y'all know what it is. Let's keep everyone in our thoughts, our prayers, our views, and meditations. Once again, let's keep everyone in our thoughts, our prayers, our views, and meditations. And lastly, family, let's keep everyone in our thoughts, our prayers, our views, and meditations. That's people we come in contact with on a daily basis, people we're cordial with, our families, our extended families, and more especially, our Bearded Conversation family. You feel me? Secondly, man, don't forget to master these 5 key components of life. That's love, peace, respect, motivation, and inspiration. That's love, peace, respect, motivation, and inspiration. And one last time, y'all, for those in the back, that's love, peace, respect, motivation, and inspiration. And don't forget the most important component that holds all those things together. That's that glue, man. That's that support. You know what I'm saying? So don't forget the E40 that thing and sprinkle a little support on top. Because a little support go a long way. If you don't believe me, man, try it out. You feel me? If it don't work out for you, come on back. Maybe we can talk about what happened. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? That's what I like to do, man. That's what we call a Bearded Conversation. Hey, first and foremost, big shout out to my co-host who ain't never in the building, Roscoe P. L. Boogie. Big shout out to my co-host with the mostest, my little one, AJ. I love you, son. Big shout out to all the Leos in the building, too, man. All the Leos everywhere across the world, man. It's Leo season. Big shout out to all the Leos, man. Yeah, big shout out to all the Leos, man. Nolan Wells, man. Happy belated birthday to Nolan Wells. That brother was Leo as well, man. You feel me? They had a visual for that brother, man. But let's do this, man, before we get to doing anything. You feel me? We most definitely have to do this. So, hey, the thoughts, views, and opinions of Bearded Conversations are the thoughts, views, and opinions of me right now. The thoughts, views, and opinions of Bearded Conversations are the thoughts, views, and opinions of me right now. I don't mean to hurt, to harm, or to offend. Once again, I don't mean to hurt, to harm, or to offend. This video stream is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Once again, this video stream is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only, with the underlying and undertone on edutainment, so we do emphasize and stress edutainment. Please do not take any advice given or anything said or shown on this video stream for face value. Without consulting the proper professional that suits your specific needs, please do your due diligence, please do your proper vet work. Because we don't want you going out here robbing no banks, you know what I'm saying, starting over votes, telling your boss what he or she can take, how they can turn it sideways, and where to put it. We done already told you. No. You can't do that. You hear? You know what I'm saying? We don't want no trouble, no beef. But yeah, man, let's get into this Nolan Wells, man. Supposedly new witnesses then came about. So I got a few things that I want to play. I want to get into the TikTok chick who I've been telling y'all about, who's been, saying like private eye and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? But first, we gotta get into our Nancy, man. We gotta get into our Nancy. Let's see what Nancy talking about, and then we're gonna work our way into the TikTok lady, man. Let's get it. Big shouts out to Nancy Grace, man, for being on top of it too, man. I fuck with Nancy.
The Nolan Wells investigation into the death of a shining star, Nolan Wells, has an altercation witness emerged. A witness that claims she saw an altercation at Horn Island. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. A Nolan Wells.
Now, this witness, I don't know if this witness is the young lady that sent those messages, because I remember telling y'all before that a young lady sent messages. So I don't know if this is young lady, but we're going to figure it out.
Own evidence torpedo.
2 confirmed witnesses that saw Nolan Wells on the island around 6 p.m. The Triton, as you said, left around 4:30.
What witnesses? Where? Who, what, where, why, and when?
I have not spoken publicly about this before, but I witnessed an altercation involving Nolan Wells from a boat nearby. What I saw has stayed with me, and I believe it's important information. I have provided or intend to provide my account to the appropriate investigators because Nolan's family deserves the truth. Out of respect for the ongoing investigation, I won't speculate beyond what I personally observed. While I was on the boat near the area, I witnessed an altercation involving Nolan Wells and several other individuals. I saw what appeared to be an argument that escalated after there was a dispute involving Nolan's phone. I heard Nolan yelling for his phone to be returned. The argument continued after the group reached shore, and I observed a physical fight involving Nolan and multiple people. I also observed a young woman telling them to stop. At that point, I left the area because the situation had appeared to be getting worse. I did not remain long enough to witness what happened afterward. Everything beyond what I personally observed would be speculation, so I cannot honestly say what occurred after I left.
Save time creating content and generate a high quality.
Then she said she messaged one of the individuals that she saw, hey, I just want to say I was a passenger on another boat and I saw the argument between you guys and we'll go to the police with this information. I also have video footage. My husband doesn't show much, but it shows the argument that was taken and how you guys were upset at Nolan because of the young lady.
That from Secret Service Sam on TikTok. Okay. How is this helping the investigation? I'm trying to make sense of so many people online making comments. Now, if this is true, if there is a witness who has a husband with her on the boat and they took a certain amount of video, it could change everything, especially if the video is time stamped. Straight out to veteran trial lawyer, defense attorney Philip Dubay joining me. He's joining us out of LA, formerly in the public defender's office. They try a ton of cases. Philip, first of all, has she turned it into police? She said she was. If she hasn't, I give her no credibility at all. Look, I want this to be true. Why? Because I want the video. I want to see the timestamp on the video. I want to see, was he still on Horn Island at 4:30 when his acquaintances on the Triton boat left? I want that video. And if she hasn't brought this forward to LE, law enforcement, then it means nothing to me. I mean, if I know a young man turns up dead in the water, and I know there's a controversy surrounding this. I mean, we know she knows.
See, and that's another thing. That's why a lot of this should be seeming like it's fake, orchestrated. Because if you, why would you send a text to those young men? Like, if you really thought so now, because after all this came out, after all these things, so how soon or when exactly did she send that message to whoever she sent it to? You know what I'm saying? So because we gotta factor that in. Did she send it to them during the time, or between everybody saying that Nolan came missing, or afterwards? Like, when did she, send this text? So yeah, of course, the timestamps and everything. Like, yeah, I would love to see this video. I most definitely want to see this video. And happy belated birthday to Nolan Wells.
That because she's gone online and posted it. Then why not hand it over to police?
Agreed. And it should go to the grand jury for part of their investigation. But I got to tell you, if I were cross-examining her, should this even go to trial, the first question I'd ask her on that 4th of July, what she had been drinking. Before that video got activated, everybody would want to
put him up.
Not everybody's got to be drinking. Stop.
How many people were partying?
Okay, man. Have you lost your mind? You defend criminal cases. I bet everybody you put on the stand has either been high, drunk, or worse during the altercation. Well, every witness is not a nun, a priest, or a virgin. Everybody on Horn Island was drinking, man. What are you talking about? I don't care if she took a drink. I want the video.
You want the truth, is what you want. You want
so
the truth.
And that would be the video.
Wow.
Remember, Nancy.
Okay.
Not consistent.
Brandon Tatum is joining us. So after all that, all you have to say is, was she drinking? That's your takeaway from that. Joining me is Brandon Tatum, former police officer, Tucson, now star of the Officer Tatum on YouTube, who famously has interviewed the acquaintances who all say they had nothing to do with it. Let's just put that out there. He's interviewed them extensively. I want to talk about not what you want to talk about, Brandon Tatum, which is they had nothing to do with this, because I met them and I believe them. So noted. Can we talk about a potential witness to an altercation? And she seems to suggest it was over Katie. Why? Don't know what the altercation was. Maybe it was, hey, leave her alone and get on the boat, or leave her alone, she's my girlfriend, or it could be anything. But if there is a witness placing Nolan seemingly in the water, I can't tell that, but having an argument with another person, a partier at Horn Island, that is significant. It could prove or disprove your friend's timeline.
Well, Nancy, I think that it's a big obstacle to climb here, because I've never heard of this altercation whatsoever. Nobody that I've talked to have alluded that this altercation was real. And also Katie, whom I saw her text messages, she didn't even say this altercation occurred. What I will say is that if I was an investigator in this investigation, I want to hear that. I want to be able to compare that information to other things that we may have, other witness statements. But I don't think it's significant, because it doesn't show if Nolan Wells was actually killed in that altercation. She's claiming that there was an altercation between him arguing with somebody else. There was a potential fight, but that doesn't get me to how did he drown? How did he get in the water? And how did he not recover and come home to his family? So I would take that into consideration. I would compare that to the other interviews that I've done, but I don't think it's significant whatsoever. However, I would be incredibly skeptical, because there's no other statements that I've heard from anybody that comes even close to an altercation with Nolan Wells and others over a girl.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from space? With this free satellite Earth Maps tool, you can zoom right down to.
Number one, he's dead shortly after an alleged altercation with another male. We think over a woman. See, in my world, I put together both circumstantial and direct evidence. Direct evidence would be, for instance, DNA or a fingerprint. Circumstantial evidence is the timing of the alleged altercation and his death. Right?
Nancy,
so
but Nancy,
it's hard for me to believe that there's some kind of altercation on Horn Island just before he dies, and they were not connected. That's hard for me to believe that.
Well, Nancy, she's not saying he lost the fight. She's not saying that he got beat up. If you look at the autopsy, there's no clear signs of blunt force trauma to his face or any of the vital areas that could kill him. So it doesn't appear that there's any indication that he lost a fight, that there was enough trauma in this particular fight that would lead to his death. And when you look at the autopsy, there is no blunt force trauma to his face. There is no lacerations or damages to the back of his head. This is redness that was underneath the skin.
Oh, wait, are you looking at the screen? Because I'm looking at a big red mark on the back of his head.
Yeah, but this is underneath the skin. This is not a big red gash that's in the back of his head, which would be consistent with blunt force trauma. This is something that occurred underneath the skin that could have been from pooling of blood after his death due to,
Okay, I need to explain something.
I'll let the experts talk about specifics, but it doesn't appear that.
Okay, let's do that. But I want everyone to understand why Officer Tatum is here. Officer Tatum and Philip Dubé and others on our panel tonight are taking a particular side, right? It's called cross-examination, and it is similar to what happens in court. A theory emerges, a line of questioning emerges, and the other side tests it with fire under cross-examination. And then hopefully you get to the truth. Right now, we're talking about an alleged eyewitness to an altercation just before Nolan Wells is dead. If she has not handed this over to the police, it doesn't mean a hill of beans to me. But Tatum has a good idea, and that is, let's let an expert discuss it. To Joseph Scott Morgan, death investigator, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University. You can see him now on a hit podcast. It's on YouTube, Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, if there had been not a blunt force trauma that Officer Tatum is describing, but a fist fight, if there had been a fist fight, plus body in water for multiple days, body decomposition, would you expect to see red marks on the hands at that juncture, on the face? What would you expect if there had been a fisticuffs?
Yeah, you would see, well, first off, above discolored areas, like consistent with contusions. If there are facial strikes or just body blows, you can actually see abraded areas over the surface of his fingers. And these are very subtle sometimes. And if there is decomposition, which we believe there is, particularly per the second autopsy that was performed, he didn't make note of this. And can I go one more step with this? And this is kind of graphic, but people need to understand this. This physician that did the second autopsy actually did what's referred to as a coronal sectioning of the face. So there were multiple incisions made into Nolan's face in this autopsy, this second autopsy. And this guy didn't see anything. He didn't see anything that was of import relative or indicative of blunt force trauma. And I would think that if there was contact, particularly if he's fighting a group of people, these sorts of things, you're going to have injuries probably on the leading edges, or what we refer to as the blade of the arm right here on the forearm, the back of the hands, the knuckles as points of contact. And certainly if there's facial strikes going on with him, which we find with blunt force trauma many times with fisticuffs, as you say, you'll see these strikes, you'll see marks on the face. There's nothing to indicate that in the second autopsy. Now, what the state has, I don't know, but I do know this. I know they're saying they're done with the autopsy and that it's complete, which means the gross findings in the autopsy room, the tox, the histology, that means that autopsy report is complete. They just hadn't released their findings yet.
And speaking of that, Joe Scott Morgan, I've heard the same, that the autopsy is complete.
Yeah.
There are reports that there is no cocaine in Nolan's system. That's uncorroborated reports.
Okay.
But a good source. No cocaine in the system.
Yep.
Joe Scott, when the body has been in the elements, such as the water, for that long, how can I confirm if he had been drinking or not?
Oh, you can still pull a BA, blood alcohol, or blood ethanol level, as it's referred to. And again, Nancy, we're not talking about someone that has been down for weeks and weeks. We can still do the BA, and it can come from urine, blood. We can still draw urine and find it pretty effectively. You'll have what's referred to as qualitative. We've talked about this before, and I know you understand that. But so our friends understand, you have a qualitative amount, which they say, yes, it is present. And then you have a quantitative amount where they do the measurement of the BAC, the blood alcohol content. Just think about DWI, DUI, wherever you're from, those levels. And then we get up to those lethal levels. That's really what I'm interested in relative. And yeah, I'm interested in any of the other toxicological findings you might have relative to anything illicit or illicit drugs, but particularly with alcohol, because that has been kind of this thing that has been said over and over and over again. Well, let me see it. I want to know what the blood alcohol level was like. And historically, I would like to know what his level of experience has been with alcohol. As you well know, because of cases you've worked on in the past, Nancy, if you're a lightweight, if you've never had anything to drink and you start taking on copious amounts of alcohol, and you're kind of a neophyte in this area, it can have very, very lethal outcomes.
Let me understand. Joe Scott Morgan joining us, star of Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan on YouTube and Death Investigator. When I'm asking you, even if the body has been in the elements for a period of days, can I still get a blood alcohol? Maybe not from urine, but you certainly can't do a blow test. But can you take human tissue from one of the organs and extract a blood alcohol from human tissue?
No, it'd be very difficult. Generally, the liver is the best candidate. We'll spin that down. We'll take a section of it, spin it down, and liquefy it. But again, I submit to you, Nancy, that he has not been down long enough to compromise the ability to get at least a quantitative amount. Yeah, to get a BA.
Okay. To Philip Dubé joining me, a veteran trial lawyer, defense attorney out of the LA jurisdiction. I'm not quite sure why you're so focused on who had been drinking. Let's take a look at the video. Let me answer that for you. Everybody was drinking. Okay. Everybody had a snootful. So even someone drinking can see an altercation, Dubé.
No, of course you can. I can see that crowd of people out there. It was a bustling, hot 4th of July afternoon. But who's to say that the people that she saw included Nolan Wells? And that's why you got to get into her ability to perceive and recollect being impacted by intoxicants such as alcohol. I would want to know if she had imbibed. I really would. Not to mention, the autopsy findings thus far do not reflect any type of physical insults or injury to his body. At most, what you have are signs.
I'm asking you about your fixation on the witness having been drinking. Joe Scott Morgan has already addressed the body. I'm talking to you about the alleged witness.
Yeah. If she had in fact been drinking, I do believe, unless they really have a video showing him in HD quality, showing that he was in a fight, then I would call her ability to perceive, recollect, and even state that there was an altercation going on in her presence.
Brandon Tatum joining us, Officer Tatum on YouTube. I've cross-examined a lot of witnesses, and I cross-examined them exactly on that. How far away were you? Did you know the target? Were you familiar with them? Was your vision obstructed by anything? Were you wearing glasses? Were you wearing sunglasses? What time of the day? I mean, I could go on and on. But unless you have a nun, a priest, or a virgin on the stand, or maybe Angel Gabriel might come down and testify, you have to take your witness as you find them. And I'm sure you've had a lot of drunk witnesses in Tucson to everything from a bar fight to a murder to a dope deal. Look, I'd say a good 50% of witnesses were drunk at one time or the other. That doesn't mean they didn't see what they saw.
Well, from a law enforcement perspective, this is not cross-examination on the stand. This is us. What I would deal with a witness is right on the scene. And I don't I'm not too concerned of whether the person is drunk or not. I'm not going to test their blood alcohol level on the scene. I want to know specifically, what did you see? What are the identifying markers that you have to say that this is Nolan? If the person can describe them, maybe we'll do a show up. If we have like a video or a picture or something, we could show them and say, hey, does this match the person you think that was here? Then we'll have a good perspective. But there is a challenge here, because you do have to identify him. You can't just say it was a black man out there with curly hair and I think it was Nolan. You're going to have some clear identifying markers that this is Nolan, and then you have to identify the people he was fighting with and the girl. And I think this person is going to have a big challenge. I saw this text message. We reached out to the girl on her social media. She never responded to us. I don't know if she ever really sent it in to the police, but it is problematic, in my opinion, if she hasn't. If you're going to say somebody is going to spend time.
Hell, I know I'm small time, but shit, I'd have reached out to you and you ain't get back to me. You talk about some bad. Don't nobody want to hear your side of the story. We trying to get you, but listen, we the common folk over here, man. Officer Tatum, if you're watching, if you're listening, get at me, man.
In jail, are you alluding to the fact they committed a crime, and the fact now that we know that Nolan did not survive being out there at Horn Island, and you never submitted that to law enforcement? There's a potential that's tampering with evidence. If you have evidence of a crime and you're withholding that from law enforcement, and you knowingly and intentionally are doing that, that could be very problematic for a person who claimed to be a witness.
No. Morally, it's wrong, but there is no duty under the law that you have to report yourself as a witness, that you have to volunteer information. You can stand on the side of a pool and watch somebody drown and do nothing unless you have a fiduciary capacity. And it's not a crime in our jurisprudence. So nothing is compelling her under the law to come forward. However, interesting, she did post it. She did identify herself. She did say she was going to police. And that would be my first line of cross. Did you take this to the police? And if she said no, all HELL break out in that courtroom. If you have information like this and you don't go to the police, no. Fur would fly. Fur would fly. You ever seen a dog fight? That's what I mean by that. Fur would fly. So that would be a line of cross exam. Hold on. Something else. Before I go out to Susan Hendricks, Jeff Shetler, and Ben Dobrin. Now, information that there is, in fact, a criminal investigation.
Hearing that somebody who has an inside source is saying the DA's office in Mississippi is now looking at the Nolan Wells case as a criminal investigation and no longer an accidental drowning. Now, we can only pray that this is true. Obviously, we can't celebrate. We can't get excited at all because I have not seen Ben Crump announce this. It is not being reported by any other major media sources, but there are rumblings.
There's a Harbor Freight store in
Real Spill, what's going on, my boy? How you feeling?
What's the deal? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, my boy. I'm doing good. I had to speak to you. I see you up here. What's going on with you tonight?
Man, listen, man. I've been hearing about this Nolan Wells shit, man. They say it's a letter. Somebody hand wrote a letter about the events that happened that day, leading up to the death of Nolan Wells. But they not saying like who wrote the letter. So I don't know, man. It just seems
that letter was some bull. That letter, I think that letter is some complete bullshit. I don't think it's nothing to that letter, honestly, because I mean, why did it take so late? And if I was an investigator, that letter ain't. I wouldn't take that letter into consideration. Just me personally.
I would file it away though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I said like I would look at it. I would look at it and
I would bag and tag it.
Yeah, but I don't think that letter really. Me personally, I don't think that letter is real. I'm not saying that did nothing happen to my man or nothing like that. You know, that's most definitely not what I'm saying. But just that letter itself, I just don't think that letter is real.
What the letter say?
Shit, I don't even remember, man. Okay. Well, it said it was more in lines to like, okay, I do know. They stored Nolan in like a compartment, and then one of the boys, people's got some property, so it was hot, so they tried to keep him in a cool place. You know what I'm saying? So his body wouldn't, stink and smell, but do due to it being a hot summer day, you know what I'm saying, they were trying to say that the decomposition, you know what I'm saying, started to take place. So they had to get rid of the body and shit like that. So they say one of the boys, peoples had some property where they stored the body. And now you hearing about, well, I don't know if anybody's heard this, but you know, it's word going around that maybe they took the body back there and dumped the body. I think I might have said that me personally on my own. That I think they might have brought the body back or could have potentially brought the body back. Whoever did it, I'm not saying that it was these boys, but whoever did it. But because you know, face down, the body wasn't bloated. It's just a lot of things that could potentially, you know, could you know lead to or stem to, you know what I'm saying, somebody bringing the body back or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's basically was it. It was just saying that they stored them in a compartment, tried to keep them cool, but it was a hot day, so the body started decomposing. They took it to one of the people, like I say, one of the boys' parents' property or kinfolk property, and you know what I'm saying, possibly took the body back and dumped the body. And
Yeah.
this kept into a journal. It was supposedly wrote into a journal. It was a 2-page letter.
A journal, huh?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, it was supposed in a journal. So I think I played it. I think it came from Willie D was the
Willie
person that
D.
I
Yeah. Willie D.
yeah,
He
yeah,
wrote
yeah.
that. But see, this is another some details that you kind of skipped over without because I caught the first beginning. So that's kind of what I remember. I didn't get all the way into it. So I remember it was damn near like time stamped events. Like it was detailed. They say Nolan, they was partying. You know, they had the party favors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
no,
Oh yeah. Dude was on
yeah,
Booger Sugar all day. They
yeah.
said that he was
Trying to
yeah.
get Nolan to indulge, but Nolan had some event coming up to where he had to keep his shit clean. And
Yeah.
he
Keep it
wasn't,
because he was going back to school for football. So you know they
yeah.
test, you know, you can't be doing all
So
that.
I think they thought he may have took a picture, and that's where the phone argument came up. Now, see, this is it
Yeah,
does make it,
yeah, picture them doing something and that's probably
and
yeah.
that's where you got the "give me my phone" shit. So
Yeah.
I don't want to believe the letter, but I think it's some validity to that shit.
I mean, but even with this, so like with the content that I'm playing now, so outside of that, before that letter came out, this lady said that, you know, she potentially witnessed something or argument going on between Nolan and the boys or whatever when she was on her boat with her husband, and she claims to have video, and she says that you know, when the arguing got too much for, you know, her and her husband, you know, on they boat, I guess they turned around and took off. And you know, and for people talk shit and crazy, bro, that's what people do. Usually when people see shit that ain't got nothing to do with them, a lot of times people do just bimp off. You
Well,
know,
it depends. It depends what kind of
yeah,
person.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
give
it
you that, but
depends.
nah, my boy, I can't. I'm gonna give it to you, but I can't give it to you, man. A lot
Yeah,
of
because
times,
I'm agreeing with you. For the most part, people are I don't want to say coward, but I think they just more so on along the lines of I mind my own business.
right?
And then you got to look like the color of those people match the same color, so they will just be like, hey, they can handle that. He's outnumbered type shit. So they could possibly go the other way.
I
Me
mean,
on
well,
the
they
other
do
hand,
thought about it like that too. Yeah.
me on the other hand, uh, I I'm along the lines. I don't like seeing my people being mistreated, bro. No
I
shape,
mean,
form, fashion.
yeah, I mean, if one of us was probably out there and some shit like that was going on, yeah. But like you say, shit, it's a lot of them. So you know, and I'm not saying that that's what happened, but you know, because again, it don't matter who it is. Sometimes people just mind their own business. You feel me? But
They
she
do.
said she took some video, but she said she was, you know, if it helps, she gonna go to the proper authorities. But this is why I think that's some bullshit. Because if you took this video, like I stated earlier, when you so when did you text whoever you text or sent a text to that said that you seen the argument and what was going on? When did you send this text to them? After you seen or found out all this about Nolan being unalive or before? You know what I'm saying? Like when and why didn't you just go straight to the police? Why would you send them a text message telling them that I mean and again it could be because they're white people and I don't want to but you know what I'm saying? 'Cause they
Yeah. Do
still
you want to answer? You want to answer?
what would you say?
In my mind, the way I process that is they don't want to. They're a community. It's tight knit community. It's a small town. Everyone knows each other.
Right.
And in the beginning, everyone's gonna try to cover it up and hide it. The only thing that makes her come forward with information is her conscience. So it could be like something on her conscience that like I should have did this before, but just being within that community and amongst the people of that community and their ideologies, it kind of stopped her from doing the right thing. That happens with us, like niggas see something in the hood, nigga ain't gonna talk to the police because in our environment, that's a no.
I mean, I get you, but this is still kind of a different situation. You
Think
know
so?
what I'm saying? Because he black, because he, and I don't give a fuck what nobody say, man. Now, y'all say it ain't a race case. I'm not saying
It's
that this was,
definitely a race case.
but, but see, I don't want to say that. But what I will say, it does make a difference because he was, you know what
Black.
I'm saying, a black man out there with all those white folks. You feel me? And just through my experiences and through me living life and throughout the history of the United States Corporation of America, I don't give a hell about what nobody say. I mean, if we look at the history of I understand, people can say that's unfair to say, you can't use the history of Mississippi to apply that to this case because that has nothing to do with this case. I get it, for this particular case, technically it doesn't. But if we're trying to build a background, if we're trying to, push a narrative of a story of the history of a state that has persecuted young black men and women, you know what I'm saying? Since the inception of that state, you have to push that type of narrative, right? It's only indicative, or it's only right, I would guess, to our culture or to our
You
people to
have
say
to
those things.
consider. You have to consider
Right,
that in the whole pot, right? You have to throw
right.
that in there too because it's a part of that culture. You can't just completely ignore it because they want you to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We gonna inspect every avenue, you know. And for
Yeah,
y'all not wanting us to do it makes me want to inspect it even further.
yeah, and then for Officer Tatum though, for him, and again, I do take the stance of that, and I can say this, like, and I know people don't like this. I don't know if those young men undenied Nolan or not, right? Because we can't no one really truly honestly
Yeah,
say
because we
that
wasn't there. We
because we
wasn't there.
wasn't there. We can
But
only infer, we can only go by the inconsistency of the case. We can only just imagine that, what happened. And again, okay, and if it turns out that someone did it, it might not have been all of them. It could have been one or two. You know what I'm saying? Or it could have been not even them. It just could have been someone they knew and they just didn't speak up.
all right, so let's put Officer Tatum out there. His interview was a soft interrogation where he was kind of giving them the answers so they can say, the right, make sure they don't say the wrong thing,
Well,
you
I don't
know?
think it was an interrogation because before that
Well,
interview happened, of course, those things was planned. So what I think it wasn't a soft interrogation. What it was a facade to be painted and put, what I'm saying, towards the world that, what I'm saying,
okay.
these are outstanding young white men of their community. And why would you guys just, what I'm saying, instantly say that because these were Nolan friends. So it wasn't soft question. He didn't ask no goddamn real questions, bro. He
Right.
didn't know.
That it, but see, okay, that's the point I was trying to get to. I used the wrong word saying interrogation. I really didn't watch it, but I
Yeah.
heard a few little clips where he was asking questions, well, asking, giving answers to questions he was asking.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But
Mm-hmm.
if you put them separately, like they would do us in an interrogation room and pound at them, we'll get the truth.
Yeah, but see,
That
no,
had
even together because I played. So if you go back, I actually played. I played the when he talked to Warren. I also played the interview with Tristan, and then I also played the interview with all three of them. Now, if you watch that interview with all three of them, Warren did the majority of the talking. But some of the things that this guy Jax was saying, who we didn't hear about, who wasn't on the wasn't on the initial boat. You feel see those two friends. See, like it's like now they grouping and just throwing motherfuckers in there trying to get get people off the scent. We still don't have we still ain't heard from Wyatt. What's the guy with Bart, and the other guy, like all these motherfuckers just been excluded. You got this guy Jackson. I don't even remember the other guy's name. Like, where's the initial people? You know what I'm saying? Why aren't they speaking out? Why is it
because they're guilty. Listen, because there's some guilt there, and there's information that they don't want to be spoken out loud. They didn't want Bart name out there, but the boy said Bart name.
Yeah, damn it, Bart. But I don't think Bart. And again, because I don't want to accuse anyone. I'm not going to sit here and say Bart did anything because we
No,
heard that.
okay, check it, bro. Listen, man. Everybody a suspect, nigga. Everybody. Just like the way they do us, man. We can't keep soft shoeing these motherfuckers acting like, you know what I'm saying, like being tender with this
I'm
shit.
not soft showing. I'm not soft showing because everyone should be a suspect. So and then because you get people say, well, you don't know how investigations work. And I do
know how.
but I didn't talk to a lot of police officers. But I'm only saying that because I wasn't there for sure. But
No, listen.
Everyone.
Hold on. Have you ever dated a black woman?
Of course I have.
Well, you've been under investigation before. So we all know how we all know how investigations work.
Hold on. The thoughts and views of that statement came straight from real field. It did not come from being a conversation.
Yes, sir. This is all my opinion. That's facts. These are all my factual opinions, and I love y'all because y'all are doing y'all job, trying to keep y'all. Y'all be having situations y'all done been through, and y'all be trying to make sure shit right. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? So do whatever you need to do to, see if the situation is supposed to be. I ain't got no problem with it. But because I think niggas should be honest anyway. But not to get off into that shit. I do not want them to give us any misconceptions as if we don't know. We do know. We know exactly how this shit works. Y'all not doing it right. Y'all started off wrong when y'all found them, and the first thing y'all said was, it's an accidental drowning. Y'all wrote it off as some drowning shit. Then, I'm skipping out, kind of bouncing around, but Officer Tatum came out and said it's gonna be cocaine found in Nolan's system. And then this letter said that there was cocaine involved. So they were doing it. In the letter, it says they were doing the cocaine. So, when y'all accidentally unalived them, y'all probably tried to inject some of that in this system so y'all could say y'all can have that. But maybe the toxicology report came back and now you don't hear no more of it.
Yeah, that's why they submitted the toxicology report to the grand jury. I don't think they're gonna find because he had to adjust that shit. I like even they know whether it was forced in or whether it was ingested because they were sniffing cocaine. So I don't think they're gonna find anything
I don't
like
think
that.
so.
I don't think they're gonna find none of that.
See, the thing is, they blew it. If they try to put it on his in his nose, right? They threw him in water. He's not breathing. It's not gonna go in his system.
The alcohol. I'm not saying they try to say he was a drinker or whatever the case may be. I'm not. So what I will say for the alcohol is, I'm not crazy. I'm not dumb. Even if he didn't drink right, I'm not going to sit here and say he probably didn't. Yeah, and I don't want to say peer pressure, but he's like, fuck it. You feel when we kicking it, yada yada yada. I'll have a little sip of taste or whatever the case may be. Right?
How old was Nolan?
He was 18.
Okay, you were 18 before. You remember what it was being a kid. Come on now. But that don't mean he deserved to die.
Yeah. So no, but what I'm saying is that, because they tried to paint the narrative like he was just excuse me, like he was just, you know what I'm saying, drunk and belligerent and just, you know what I'm saying, just all type of inebriated, like, oh wow, he drinks all the time. You know, I don't want them to paint you know what I'm saying? That's why I say I don't think they're gonna find those type of drugs and those type of party drugs or hard drugs in the Schedule 1 drugs in the system versus the alcohol. Now with the alcohol situation, yeah, of course, 18, we out there kicking in the party. Yeah, you know, motherfucker probably got a little blast to the waist or whatever the case may be. But as far as anything else, I don't think yeah, I just no, I just don't think. You know what I'm saying? Not being at 18, I just don't think so, man. You feel me? Not like they trying to put it so that letter it can be characteristically uh um bad, you feel me? Because of the narrative that they're trying to push on all the boys. Because if all of them was doing it, you know what they're gonna say? Nolan was doing it too. You feel me?
Well, yeah, of course, because we all were drinking. So was Nolan.
Right.
But
You know what I'm
but either
saying?
way,
All drug, you feel me?
if y'all okay, so let's take it back. First, he's belligerent, he's drunk, he's out of his mind drunk. But me and you know, cocaine wake you up.
Mm-hmm.
So ain't no drunk out your mind, staggering around. You know,
Shit, I do hit a line, boy. If it's some good shit, you woo, you wide the fuck awake.
yeah, fuck that beer. You want some more?
Yeah, but see, yeah, you feel me like you just wired, bro. You shit,
Mm-hmm.
you out off the wall. You going 40, going motherfucking north. See now, listen, see now he do another thing though. Because if that was involved, and he did do that, and they was in the water, he could have had a heart for anything. Because this is what I'm saying. See, so but if it comes back and ain't none of that shit in the system, now we can rule all that type of shit out too. Because if
Yeah,
it's
but
toxicology, we
this
don't
is the
know.
thing. Y'all, they're throwing everything in negative at Nolan. Where's the
Of course.
drug test for these boys?
Well, you know, cocaine only stay in your system for a couple of days. So if they done
Yeah,
been tested that by now, if they did something, it's out of their system. But I'm
it's
pretty
out
sure
there.
they didn't. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they didn't hood since then. But they
Yeah,
not
yeah,
trying to be these boys. You feel me? So, but that's what I say. I mean, again, man, I believe they should have been primary suspects. I believe everybody's phone should have been collected. I believe these boys should have been locked up for at least 24 to 48 hours in an investigation and fucking question. I believe everybody boat that they were on that day. I believe all those boats should have came, goddamn it, back to the goddamn police station or whatever. And we gonna take these bitches apart because we need to search for any inkling of DNA of Nolan's. You feel me? Like blood or whatever the case may be, anything, snot, spit, saliva, anything that we can differentiate, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I believe all that shit should have happened and it didn't happen. You know, and just the stories, man, it's just too inconsistent for me, man. You know, a lot
yeah,
of people say, "Oh man, y'all just crazy and this, that, and the third, and unique roles and da 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 da." You know, man, I just be listening, man. You feel me? When I was running the content, man, you should have seen some of it. The comments was crazy. Hey, they ain't off the chain tonight, but the comments usually is crazy.
yeah. Because people got to back. We have to be the bad person. We have to be the one that's in the wrong for everything to be all right. You know what I'm saying? To them. So anything we say is gonna be, you know, it's gonna be some retaliation to it, especially if it's something against them or some suspicion on them specific.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we should do. You know what I'm saying? Like when it come to us, I don't slam black people, bro. Anybody going through anything, I just be like, I try to come up with a reason, a rational reason as to why they going through it. I don't, or anybody do anything, I just try to reserve a negative opinion because that's what they want. That's what we do. They conditioned us to hate each other, bro. And it worked. They conditioned us to do this to each other. Like when it was a white guy here in Atlanta. He went to these Asian massage shops and he murdered several people. He went on a spree. And when they caught up with him on the news conference, the police officer of that county got up there and said that that guy was having a bad day. The guy that went on a killing spree, an unenlivened spree, he said that that guy was having a bad day. So anything a nigga do, I'm just gonna chalk it up to him having a bad day. He's not a bad guy. He was just having a bad day. I mean, and that's just, you have to decide to love your people regardless of how they are. When you get to the point where I'm at, I'm not perfect, so I can't ridicule anybody. But what I can decide to do is love all my people, regardless of how they act, whether I like it or not. Just because I don't want the other people to take what I say and run with it. See his own people saying it. Validation. But that's a decision that we all have to make for each other, for us to come out on the other side of this shit the right way. If not, they gonna put a nigga, just like they doing Tatum, putting a nigga in front of it. Defend us.
Tatum ain't the one to defend nobody. He ain't defending shit. Tatum ain't defending that damn thing.
He defending them white people.
Man, that's what he doing. If anything, he ain't defending.
That's why they put him in front of it, because he looks at us the way they trained us to look at each other.
I don't know, man. I'm not Tatum. Tatum say he looks at everybody the same. So I'm gonna let him slide with that. If he,
Nah.
I'm gonna give him that.
It's accountability, bro. Like when they show you, you have to accept it, and you have to handle them in the manner that they show you. It's not me like saying nothing bad about you because you doing it. You the one doing this, not me. I'm just acknowledging the fact that you did it in my face. So I had to say what you did. I can't lie to myself. If I lie to myself, then I'm disservicing myself. Now you could tell me a whole lie, and it won't matter because I saw what I saw.
Right.
Right. So
I feel.
we can't not acknowledge what we see. Once we see it, we have to just deal with it accordingly. And that's where I'm at.
I understand. I understand. You know what I'm saying? I understand. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
I think maybe because I got older, my tolerance is just a little bit lower. And then, I just, like Dr. Sebi said, I put the magic glasses on. So if I see it, I can't unsee it.
Yeah, that's true. I think we all see it.
Yeah, but we got to hold them accountable for it, though. Like, that's the whole key.
Yeah,
can't
but yeah, but the holding accountable, you know what I'm saying, you got to have a lot of other things in play, you know what I'm saying, to be able to hold them people accountable.
Let's not hold them accountable, but just acknowledge that we see it. Just acknowledge that the fact that it's happening.
I think enough of us is doing that, but the acknowledgement part is what I'm saying is that's cool, right? That's fine and dandy, and I agree 100% that we all should be acknowledging. Now, what are we doing as far as applications and as far as moving forward as a unit? You feel me? So now that we see it, that we can act upon what we see and change what we see. You feel me? That's easier said than done. And in our community, with the culture that we embrace, that they give us because it's not ours. You feel me? I mean, to a degree it is, but it's still, you know what I'm saying? It's still a narrated, you know what I'm saying, culture that we
manufactured. It's a manufactured culture that they sold us, and we bought into it.
We able to break that type of, you know what I'm saying, that psyche until we can reprogram, debug, and have a different mindset as a unit. You feel me? And when I say a unit, I'm not necessarily speaking all together because, again, all skin folk ain't kin folk. And, of course, we're going to have people that's going to always buck against the system. Because I tell people this all the times, when we talk about racism, and I know it can be touchy and sensitive and all that old extra shit, right? But they don't give a fuck about each other neither. You understand
Right.
me? I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things when we sit down and we have these discussions about the oppression and the bad things and the so-called victimization of what's been happening to us. I hate that shit, the victimization, because we can clearly see what the fuck happened, right? And we clearly understand why. I mean, psychology tells you, well, even though people like to say white man psychology, fuck that. That psychology tells you why you're doing the fucking things that you're doing, right? And so for you to not see that as an individual of well, I'm not going to say but a benefactor of the oppression from your ancestry, I'll say that you get up here and say these so stupid ass egregious things, right? And for us, I don't think we understand the fact that they don't play fair with each other. So why are you expecting them to play fair with you? You feel me?
Exactly.
And I get it. So, and they say we are sensitive people, we're loving people, we're caring people. So, do you want to really change that? Because now, if you get that, do we become what they are in order to stay on top, in order to
Well,
succeed, in order to evolve, in order to grow, in order to grind? Because guess what? People gonna be people regardless of what we say, bro. Like even without a government, or even without kings, and even without provinces, even without treaties and policies and laws, motherfuckers are human, and humans are fallible creatures, and they gonna always be put against each other. You think, goddamn it, back then, just because they didn't say black, African American, Negro, honky, Caucasian, cracker, they didn't know that they were different from other people,
yeah.
and they had issues. Shit wasn't perfect.
Well, they knew because they came here as that species. This is the thing, bro. When it come to like breaking the cycle, you see how we having a conversation on
Mm-hmm.
a level, and it's no insults, it's no emotionally driven shit, it's trying to get a gain of understanding. It's a lot of us out here that can have these conversations and we can talk like men. Those are the people that need to get in alliance and in agreement with each other and come to
Yeah,
a conclusion. But we have to be an example. That's one problem is niggas don't have a solid example that they can
true.
model after.
I agree. Well, I'm not going to even say people don't have an example, brother, because
Well,
I'll be in these spaces
you
because
right.
I'll be in these spaces, right? That's on YouTube, and again, like a lot of times when I go to a lot of these spaces, I'll be like, what the fuck? I mean, I still might participate, right? But when those people come here,
Yeah,
they
it's
don't,
different.
but
Yeah.
bro, I'm telling you, bro, the places and the people unless they mad at me, and it's only one, but no, people don't do that, bro. People when they come here, they don't do none of that shit, bro. It's a place to come, unwind, really talk, really kick it, really whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying, without all that dumb shit, bro. Because, and I don't want to speak on any of certain individuals, like, but a lot of this shit is just why.
It's dumb. It's dumb. Yeah. It's well, first of all, I'm an adult, so I just don't tend to lean towards foolishness. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to foolishness, you can miss me with it completely. And everyone involved in the foolishness can just miss me. I don't have to involve myself, and I'm not going to involve myself because I'm an adult and I have other shit to do. Now, progressive conversations, um, entertaining conversations, we can do all day. But when it comes to foolishness, I'm an adult, man. I'm not trying to engage with that shit because it's nothing productive coming out of that. So that's my stance on that. But
But
that
it's too much
even,
of it. Too much of it, bro. It's too
yeah,
don't get me wrong. And some of the folk that participate in this shit, they not necessarily bad people, bad men, or bad women, or
yeah,
bad
but
men.
I'm acknowledging what I see. You see what I'm saying? So I have to deal with it accordingly to what it's showing me, right? So I'm not okay. I have friends that I've cut off because they weren't in alignment of what we were doing. And these are good people. Like I was in some bad shit. So if you ain't want to do this bad shit with me, then I'm not fucking with you. Like it's people that I actually cut off that I love wholeheartedly, dearly, that I had to cut off because they wasn't on the movement that I was on. And they ain't saying I had any hate for them or wanted to see nothing bad happen to them. I just didn't associate with them because I can't keep giving you a chance and that bullshit that you own gonna follow me. It's gonna follow you, and that way it's gonna attach itself to me, right? So
Mhm.
the thing is, like, I've experienced a lot as a soldier, right? Just being a soldier, like doing shit that I didn't typically want to do, and then shit just not going the way I thought it would. The people that was supposed to be front lining wasn't front line. They all went in the house. And it's like, oh, okay, so okay, cool, but I know what to do, so it's fine. You know what I'm saying? But it was red flags that I ignored in the time of our relationship or our friendship that I should have picked up on and should have got myself away then. So I've been aware for a very long time because my life depend on it. So it's like I know what this do if I keep I know you're not a bad person. I know you're knowledgeable, but you still have some things to figure out. So I have to let you figure them out. Like they say, the internet is undefeated. It's not. Time is undefeated. Time always gonna allow you to see what you need to see. You just have to stay patient and sit back and see. You have to watch. Time gonna reveal everything. Time is undefeated. Oh, y'all think so y'all did that to me and now y'all move. Okay, watch and see what happened. And I just sit back and stay in my pocket because I know what I'm doing. And then that shit happened and it fall apart because that shit wasn't right in the first place. I shouldn't have been over there. I can't keep forcing myself in places where I'm not valued. Like they got the bottle of water in the store is $1. At the airport is $5. So while I'm gonna go stay over here at the airport where I'm valued the most, not going over there where I'm not valuable at, where we can't progress. I like to see progression. I want everybody to win in their respective way and with their respective talent. But if you don't want yourself to win, then I can't force it for you. So I have to get away from you because that will affect my progression and I have to progress.
Hey, salute to progress. Salute to
I,
progression. God damn it.
I
Real.
don't know if I'm making sense or not, but that's just the way I be
I understand
seeing shit.
everything you saying, brother. I understand everything you saying. You making plenty sense. You feel me? Listen, if you ain't making sense to nobody else, you making sense to yourself. You feel me? Nah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying for people listening, if it ain't making
Yeah.
sense for them, goddamn it, you know what I'm saying? You know what you mean, you know.
Yeah, so and that's another thing. Like you could tell just in conversation with people, you have to really listen because people misunderstand you on purpose. It ain't that you
Yeah.
saying anything wrong. I've experienced like I was in a place where I was unknown. I just caught the bus and went somewhere. And nobody in this area fucked with me at all. Like nobody gave me the time and everybody misunderstood everything. And I ran into this one guy. And we were in a group having a conversation and none of them niggas understood what I was saying but him. He was like, nah, this what he's saying. And when he did that, me and that man were brothers. 40 years. Friendship, 40 years, bro.
That's what's up.
Tight. Like, nigga call me anytime, need anything, I got him. All because he understood when nobody else didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to be aware, like, how people respond to you. Like, I know people had a lingo and shit, but some shit just respect. And if you can't respect me, then I can't be around you because I don't take kindly to disrespect. I'm not, I'm pro positive, but nigga, you know what I'm saying? I'm cool with all that shit, you know what I'm saying? But I'd rather just be on some positive progression shit, you know what I'm saying? But I have to deal with whatever is in my face. I can't run from it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
we all have to come to an agreement. It has to be an example of, you know what I'm saying, the opposite of what we see and what's going on. So if I can be that example. I just do it on my own time. I'm not. I ain't on. Nobody can rush me to do anything, right? I do what I want when I want to do it. I seen you live. I seen you talking about Nolan. I'm fucked with that. So let me come up here. I've seen you live before on some other shit. I didn't. That wasn't my place. So let me. But when I do have, when I can't have,
what other shit was that? What was
I
your push?
I don't know. I just get your notification and I be like, that ain't my conversation. And it ain't saying like it ain't nothing that's negative, right? It just don't be my conversation. You know what I'm saying? So
What type of things ain't your conversation though? That's what I'm asking.
just anything that I'm not knowledgeable of, right? So it could be fucking geometry. It could be fucking calculus. You up here talking about. I probably come in, listen, because I'm always gonna receive the game and try to gain some understanding from what your conversation y'all are having. And I hit the like button. I might not even say nothing, but I'm here. And I think that's me doing my part to get you your watch hours. You know what I'm saying? Even if I'm not listening, I'm just because the whole thing is you don't have a bunch of cussing and name calling up here. So I can play your shit out loud and people that's around me, it won't be hard on.
I get passionate and I get to talking, but it still don't be too much profanity. It is
Yeah.
like if it's me, you feel me, you know what I'm saying? I try to, I do try to be respectable. You know what I'm saying? Use the right type of, you know what I'm saying, conversation because I believe that it's welcoming and it's inviting. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be too aggressive or too pro this or too pro that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not pushing the line. I'm giving information. And if you receive the information, cool. If you don't, cool. Give me your opinion. And maybe I'll agree with you. But I'm gonna receive the game. If I don't agree with you, I'm gonna receive it as another way. You see what I'm saying? Unless it's totally left, then it's like, okay, I just don't agree with that. But what I don't believe in.
What's up from Toronto? Toronto in the building. Big ups to Fox Glove Ferry.
Shout out. So look, what I don't believe in is sweeping issues under the rug. Because you gonna sweep so much shit under the rugs. In a minute, we're gonna be tripping. Right?
Yeah.
That's what happened when you have lumps in your carpet and you try to walk through that shit. You're gonna trip over the shit you swept up under it. So I don't believe in sweeping under the rug. I believe in two men coming to an agreement and understanding in a real way, not a fake way, not a delusional way, but because I can let you have that, I can let you have your delusion and just remove myself. See, because I can't be responsible for you and me, but I can by being responsible for me. Right? So a lot of this shit people find themselves in, it don't be other people, it be them. When I find myself in certain situations, I'd be like, damn, that was my fault because I didn't have to be there. It's just the way I think, man. It's not that I'm non-confrontational. I just rather not, you know?
Got you, my boy. I got you. 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 Well, let's get back into this Nancy though, man. We gotta get back to the content. Let's get
Yeah,
to this.
man, my phone finna die on you, man. I gotta go. I'm gonna
All
get with
right,
you
my
though.
boy.
Man, peace
Hey,
and love, man. Salute to you.
hey,
Keep
man.
doing your
Shout out to
thing.
Real Spill, man. Make sure y'all go tap in the Real Spill the podcast.
I fuck with you, and you gonna have to come over and holler at me one day, man. We gonna get it together.
I've been on your shit before. You know what
I
I'm
know.
saying?
I need you on the panel. I need you as a participant.
Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Salute, man. Shout out to everybody, man. Appreciate
Peace.
y'all.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, make sure y'all go tap in the Real Spill the podcast too, man. Make sure y'all go tap into that, brother. Let's get back to this Nancy, man. See, listen, before we get back to this Nancy, man, I like that, man. You feel me? Just listen, y'all. anybody, man, if you want to come up and talk, you feel me? I have no problems, no issues. It's called Bearded Conversation for a reason. You feel me? That was a good, interesting bill with my brother Real Spill, you feel me? You know what I'm saying, about the Nolan Wells, and we took a little turn and twist, you know what I'm saying? I didn't mind the turn and twist. Yeah, because again, I always preach, I always push and promote that I try to provide a safe place and a safe space for people to come. You feel me? Whether you need an ear, whether you need some advice, or whether you need both or whatever, we try to provide that. So, you know what I'm saying? Not saying that this was a situation of that, but I just like the fact that, we can be both respectable, have our points, agree, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? Keep the conversation going and flowing, like he said, without all the extra mess and madness, you know what I'm saying? Even through his personal things or my personal things and whatever feelings or beliefs or whatever, however we rock, it's always good that we can come together and have a conversation without, too much emotion, too much BS involved, you feel me? So I understood him, saying wholeheartedly, and his approach, you know what I'm saying, with the Nolan Wells things as well. I felt them wholeheartedly 100%. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, man, shit, y'all know what it is, man. Be the conversation, man. We the best. You feel me? Number one in the city, man. Hey, let's go. Let's get back to this Nancy, though, man.
From Sam Crouppen. All right. I would like to point out that his source is a, quote, little birdie. Little birdies are saying,
like button for me, family,
that an inside source says the DA's office is now looking into the Nolan Wells as a criminal investigation. I can't put that up on the stand. Susan Hendricks joining me, investigative journalist and author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi. Susan, you get laughed out of court if your witness said, a little birdie told me, number one, that's hearsay, but a little birdie?
Yeah, exactly. It makes me wonder, did that woman, those text messages about some sort of altercation, is the grand jury analyzing this as we speak? Because finally the DA came out and said, look, I can't release anything that's going on, but let it be clear, and I'm paraphrasing, that we are investigating this with the grand jury.
Susan Hendricks, you're absolutely right. She states most recently, this is the elected district attorney, my obligation and commitment is to present the grand jury with all the evidence collected in the case in order for them to reach a decision based on a thorough investigation, complete evidence presentation, the actual truth, and an understanding of the law. I'm obligated to do so in keeping with the law and the rules of the court. She goes on to state, I stand firmly on the rule of law and my ethical obligation. That is what the people of Jackson County elected me to do. I will present the grand jury with a thorough, complete, and fair investigation into the death of Nolan Wells. Now, is there a criminal investigation? According to some sources, there is. We keep hearing there is no criminal investigation. To Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter, what is the truth of it tonight?
Nancy, it hasn't been announced that there's a criminal investigation, but it just stands to reason that they are doing a full investigation into the death of Nolan Wells. At this point, we don't have a cause of death, Nancy. They have not released the reports on the autopsy that was done by the state, completed weeks ago. We don't know anything. Nothing's been released. So whether they're doing a criminal investigation or not, I think it stands to reason they are investigating to every piece of evidence they can find to determine what happened and what they can present, they being investigators, to the grand jury.
Your clients dream big. Your agency builds bigger.
My bad, family.
Base 44.
Hi, guys. Nancy Grace here. If you are a homeowner, you've probably thought, should I call American Financing to refinance and pay off me for www.americanfinancing.net/Nancy. Average savings are based on borrowers who save over $100.
Every piece of been missing. Nolan.
And good luck.
I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, But we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands. Since Nolan was reported missing, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies have worked around the clock investigating what happened to him. Every piece of evidence must be examined. Every credible lead must be followed to its conclusion. Every witness interview must be analyzed in context of all other evidence. The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve. I also understand that many people have questions about why more information has not been released publicly. In Mississippi, the rules of professional conduct restrict the information a prosecutor can release during an investigation. Our restraint in communicating facts and evidence is not an effort to keep the truth from the public. It is an effort to protect the integrity of this investigation and the grand jury proceeding.
And tonight, more rumblings that the wrong boat was searched.
The MDMR report states that the searched vessel was called a Tide craft, right? On July 8th. But witnesses show he used a Tide line boat on July 4th. In the MDMR report, right down at the bottom in the yellow, it says Tide craft, not Tide line.
From Sam Crouppen to Ben Dobrin, emergency response diving instructor and trainer. Ben, thank you for being with us. What about the mistake in the name of the boat, if it was in fact a mistake? And could that explain any problem in getting GPS information?
Well, absolutely, because they're two different brands of boats. It's like saying, I'm going to search a Ford, and then you go out and search a Chevrolet in a car. They're very different brands of boats. And so if they were searching the wrong boat, then any information on that boat would be the wrong information. So if you're going after the GPS plotter on the Chevrolet, but you want the GPS plotter off of the Ford, they have no bearing. And so if you're searching the incorrect boat, you have incorrect evidence.
To Brandon Tatum, star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube, we just saw some video from your show. And I'm trying to figure out, among other things, what time and day, if you have a time and a date stamp on that, that seemingly shows the Triton with a lot of people on it, leaving the island, leaving Horn Island. Do you have a timestamp on that?
I don't have the timestamp. I can ask them to see if they can get it to me. When I watched this video and they presented it to me, this was during the time that the CETO call was occurring. So it had to be right around that time. You can see Wyatt on the boat, on the phone. And so this is how it was presented to me. And just to kind of ask them to see if they can get it to me. When I watched this video and they on the Chevrolet, but you want the GPS plotter off of the Ford, they have no bearing. And so if you're searching the incorrect boat, you have incorrect evidence.
To Brandon Tatum, star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube, we just saw some video from your show. And I'm trying to figure out, among other things, what time and day, if you have a time and a date stamp on that, that seemingly shows the Triton with a lot of people on it.
Did y'all see that little hand pop up right there by this little thing right here? Right here, right here, right here, right? I'm gonna go back just a tad and y'all should tell me what y'all seen. And this is from his own video. This is from their video footage.
Plotter off of the Ford, they have no bearing. And so if you're searching the incorrect boat, you have incorrect evidence.
To Brandon Tatum, star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube, we just saw some video from your show. And I'm trying to figure out, among other things, what time and day, if you have a time and a date stamp on that, that seemingly shows the Triton with a lot of people on it.
See that hand popped up? Did y'all see it? It popped up and fell back down.
Leaving the island, leaving Horn Island. Do you have a timestamp on that?
I don't have the timestamp. I can ask them to see if they can get it to me. When I watched this video and they presented it to me, this was during the time that the CETO call was occurring. So it had to been right around that time. You could see Wyatt on the boat, on the phone. And so this is how it was presented to me. And just to kind of answer your question about the boat searches, it's partially irrelevant depending on the investigation and the interviews that they've done. There is no indication that there was a crime committed on any one of these boats. When you have 60 people that have already given statements to law enforcement, you have the young men that I interviewed that were on their boat that left the island, and then you have people that saw Nolan on the island after they had left. It's no indication that Nolan was on any one of those boats at any point in time and that a murder occurred on those boats. So regardless if they searched them or not, it was offered up for them to use a cadaver dog, but that never occurred. And so I don't really think that the boat situation or search is significant. The boys submitted their Life 360, which is how they got a GPS tracking of when they left the island and how they got from point A to point B, where they docked and all of those things. So all of the information has been concluded, or at least have been explored, and it didn't appear that there was any foul play on any one of the boats.
Okay. Officer Tatum, I respect everything that you just said, but to have a witness tell me it's true because I said so, and because my friends say so, that doesn't mean it's true to me.
This is GPS.
It could be true.
They provided
GPS. That doesn't tell me what happened to Nolan. Just because they got GPS,
they provided Life 360,
came back.
They provided Life 360. They provided the CETO call, and you can put those two things together and say, okay, the timeline matches. And if they left at 4:30, they were already gone. All three boats that came out were already gone when Nolan was last seen. So now you have a timeline that's consistent with evidence that they presented.
Right there. I was going with you until you said the time Nolan was last seen, because their GPS data, I'm sure, is correct. And their Life 360 data, I'm sure, is correct. I'm not arguing with the technology. But what happened just before that? Where was Nolan when they're leaving the island? If you can place him on that island at 5 or 6 o'clock, please do it. And then I will turn attention elsewhere. I'm not trying to hang your friends, the people that you have interviewed. And I respect that you believe them, and maybe you're right. If he can be placed on that island at 5 or 6 o'clock, then they're in the clear. But I want to know who's placing them there, him there, and how.
Reports have come out that there's two reliable witnesses. TMZ reported on this. They said they saw Nolan a little bit before 6 p.m. There was also the young lady, Katie, who sent text messages to one of the boys that I interviewed. I saw the text messages where she alluded to the fact that she did not see Nolan get on the boat. She heard the boys yelling for Nolan to get on the boat. So Nolan never got back on the boat that he came on. So you have the boats leaving. You have a CETO call. You have testimony from everybody on the boat. And all of those things have to be taken in consideration. Also, they have already spoke to law enforcement about this. Them talking to me in the interview is them just telling the world what they told law enforcement. If there was any indication whatsoever that he was on the boat based on the testimony that was given from the boys or anybody else, even this new witness that have come forward, I think that there would be a significant investigation leading to an immediate arrest. But they clearly don't have any clear evidence that there is a crime that is committed, and especially a crime that was committed from the boys that I interviewed. I can't speak for everybody else, but I know the young men that I talked to, they were gone. There's no indication that Nolan was on the boat whatsoever. They're giving statements. Katie gave a statement. Even this person is claiming that they saw Nolan get into a fist fight. It appears that this person is claiming that the fight has happened after Wyatt and the rest of them had left on the boat.
Break free.
He being real specific about when he say, man, the ones I talked to. What about the other ones?
Hi, guys. Nancy Grace here. Please join us on Crime Stories and stream it first on Fox 1. When breaking crime news develops, we investigate it and bring it to you. Bombshell updates, answers to unanswered questions from cases making the headlines and cases you may never have heard of until Crime Stories. We go inside investigations with exclusive interviews, crime victims, families seeking justice, investigators, experts, and sources from within the case itself. Stay on top of the nation's biggest trials with us, including gavel-to-gavel coverage with real-time analysis. Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Stream it first on Fox 1. I hope to see you there, and thank you, friend.
Ben Dobrin joining us, emergency response diving instructor. What do you think regarding the boats, not just the Triton, but the other two boats that traveled with it?
My question is, where did he go in the water? They got him out of the water, obviously, on July 6th. But my question is, where did he go in the water, and when did he get into the water? Was it a drowning? Bodies behave differently underwater, whether it's a drowning or it was a killing elsewhere. There's a lot of different variables. The body washed up very close to where he was last seen. There's a lot of current in that area. If it was a drowning, people generally sink when they drown. But if you don't drown and you're put in the water, you're more likely to float. And so there's a lot of variables that come into play of where the body was recovered versus where the body went in, and the timeline also. 2 days, if the body had been in the water for 2 days, that does lead to decomposition. The water temperature.
I heard what he said, you sink when you drown. And if you was placed in the water, you float.
And is around 85 to 88 degrees. That's very warm water, a lot of bacterial growth. And so a lot of different variables in play of where the body went in, where it came out, and the when. Those are my questions. He's an athletic young man. He's very muscular. Muscles sink in the water, fat floats. And so if he drowned, he was probably going to be on the bottom for a while. And if it was 2 days, that makes sense if he drowned and then washed up very close to where he went in. And so to me, that's a big piece of important information is, if he drowned, he was recovered very close to where he was last seen.
But what does that prove?
If he drowned and he floated, because in warm water, it takes 2 to 3 days for your body to decompose and float. It proves that he drowned, whether it was somebody holding him underwater and trying to swim somewhere and wasn't a good swimmer. I have no idea, but we haven't gotten the results from the autopsy, and the autopsy is going to tell us a lot. If he drowned, that's an important piece of information. If he did not drown, that's even more important. You have somebody who was found in the water, his body was found in the water and did not drown. That's a very important piece of information. But if he did drown and they found him in the water, that can open up a lot more avenues for investigation at that point.
Philip Dubé joining us, veteran trial lawyer. Philip, we know because the district attorney has said she is presenting information to a grand jury. There are reports it is a criminal investigation. What do you make of the possibility this is a criminal investigation?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. Jackson County, Mississippi is one of the few jurisdictions in the United States that follows the old Sargent Code. And what that was back in the day was the days of the coroner inquest, where if you had a violent, sudden, or casual death and they couldn't figure out what happened, you would impanel a jury where the medical examiner or the then appointed or elected coroner elicits testimony from people to try to determine manner and cause of death. What Mississippi did is they abrogated that and created this hybrid sort of coroner's inquest with grand jury investigation, where the grand jury will decide whether or not a death occurred and if there was a crime. And based on that, they can complete the death certificate with the cause and manner of death and decide if they're going to return a true bill of indictment against a suspect.
Is it your belief, Philip Dubé, that the grand jury presenter, and I have presented to literally hundreds of grand juries. That's one of the first things we would do in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Is it your belief that to a large degree, it depends on the leaning of the presenter? Does the presenter believe a crime occurred? Or does the presenter want a no bill? In other words, no indictment?
It's twofold. They want to determine, first of all, cause and manner of death and if it's a crime. And so they've sort of combined the roles of the grand jury leader, if you will, or the grand jury DA to help the grand jury make both determinations. So it's my opinion right now, they don't know if they even have a homicide. They don't even know the cause of death, but they've lumped in all the causality to criminality just to get it all in one.
Let me rephrase it, Dubé. Will the grand jury typically do what the presenter wants them to do? I mean, haven't you heard the phrase, the grand jury will indict a ham sandwich if the presenter wants them to?
Sure. Yes,
so
they will, but it is.
Okay, so we'll see what happens with this secret grand jury.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from space?
Nancy, hey, Nancy is wild, boy. She be on them. Nancy be on them.
You're on cross-examination. Who is our next sponsor? Well, here is a probative clue. Meow. Smalls makes fresh human-grade food designed for cats to thrive, while Big Pet Food uses cheap filler. Smalls features 80% animal protein and zero artificial junk. 88% of cat parents report better digestion, softer fur, and more energy for their cats to play. It's a healthy investment your cat will love. If you want to invest in your cat's health, Smalls is giving you 60% off your cat's first order. 60% off plus free shipping and free treats for life. When you go to smalls.com/Nancy, SMALLS, smalls.com/Nancy, 60% off your first order, free shipping, and free treats for life when you head to smalls.com/Nancy. Thanks, Smalls, and thank you from our cat, Cinnamon. Tonight, we are trying to confirm or refute claims that Nolan Wells was alive on Horn Island after 5 or even 6 p.m. If you know or think you know anything regarding that matter, Nolan Wells last seen alive, don't just post it online. Call Jackson County Sheriff's 228-769-3063. Repeat, 228-769-3063. There is a $125,000 reward for information leading to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. Was there an altercation? Did it break out into a fist fight just before he is killed? Did he drown? What was the true cause of death?
So kind of had to be on the
We are waiting for facts to allow the truth to unfold. Tonight, we remember an American hero, Officer Dustin Krish, Carrollton PD, Georgia, just 33, killed in the line of duty after 3 years on the force, leaving behind a grieving wife, Emily. American hero, Officer Dustin Krish. Thank you to all of our guests, but especially to you for being with us. Nancy Grace signing off for tonight. But
hey, man, let me see. Yeah, but this witness, man. So, and again, Nancy a little behind because we been knew about this this victim. A big shout out to Willie D. Willie D got that be out there, boy. I don't know, man. I ain't no real big Willie D fan, but he showed the fuck be on it, boy. He be on it, man. You know, a lot of people like to say, you know, that's because we trying to push a narrative and da 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 da. But no, man, I think something happened to this young man. Do we know? No, we don't. Are we gonna find out? Hopefully, you feel me? Hopefully. Hey, but I want to get to this next John, man. This here, this young lady here. I'm talking about when I said a motherfucker was on it, man, she been on it. Let me see here. Where the hell is she at? There you go, right here. She be on it. Let's check it out, y'all. When I say she be on it, she be on it, man. Mm-hmm. Let's see what she talking about real quick. Now again, I do always say that you know TikTok, but hey man, but she be on it though. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't really, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the shit she be saying, it don't be too, you know what I'm saying? It don't be too wild, you know what I'm saying? It don't be too far off, too far-fetched. Let's check out.
thinking about it a lot from the timeline that we have been told. And what we haven't really been factoring in again is the party. Because remember, Warren said he went to the party, but instead of talking with all of his friends, he went upstairs to go talk with his girlfriend's dad. Now, those families are tight. So if that dad of Ava, if that conversation with the dad didn't happen, then they would automatically know that they were lying. So I've been saying for a while that the girl was somehow involved. And mind you, everybody's back on land now. They're getting ready to do the fireworks and everybody's swimming and drinking, so blah, blah, blah. So what's the excuse for no pictures at that party? They've explained it all away during the day, but at this point, they're all just being teenagers and having fun again, right? So I'm thinking that the brunette girl is Ava, the girl whose house they went to. And she's pretty close with Warren and the Pyrone family.
And they're full speed running. And then after that, I didn't see them anymore. I think you were on the boat. You start from there?
Yeah, so after we planed off, Wyatt kept the boat pinned the whole way in. We ran into the mouth of Fort Bayou, where we came from originally. And we turned into Fort Bayou, went in the channel, ran probably 500, 600 yards into Fort Bayou. Wyatt had jumped out of the boat, put the plug back in the boat, so access water. So water didn't keep pushing and filling back the boat.
According to their own words, they went into the mouth and then they turned and they went about 500-600 feet. Now, mind you, the party house is right around, but they go past it and then loop back around. However, Warren just admitted that at some point they had to stop and Wyatt jumped in. And even then, you heard him stuttering over the story. Like, it wasn't a smooth transition because I think they dropped her off. It would explain why they would go back to this party, because obviously they can't cancel the party. That looks really suspicious. Then my theory has always been that the guys all like broke off and like talked to the parents about what was going on. And that's when they formulated their whole, we'll call her and then we'll call the Coast Guard plan. Remember, she is related. Somehow I can't figure out, but she is related through marriage to the lieutenant that wrote up the very initial report we've seen. Because remember how Morgan claimed that the picture of the boat stuff was circulating around Snapchat and stuff, even though Christine didn't post it to her Facebook page until the next day.
She had to be doing a lot of motherfucking digging. She must ain't got shit to do.
Hey, listen to this.
His mom was, what was he wearing? And so we were trying to remember what color shorts were. We couldn't quite figure that out.
I said black.
Yeah, I think we said black.
I really did. He was wearing navy blue shorts.
Yeah, it was like dark blue shorts.
Dark. I just said black because I was trying to piece everything together and help out.
And so at this point, we're freaking out. We don't know where our friend's at. And the girl that took the picture, she was like, okay, well, I just took this picture of today. This is what color swim trunks he was wearing. And his mom asked for that to post on Facebook to say, if you've seen him, whatever, this is what he was wearing.
So remember, the girl who took the picture with the digital camera was on Wyatt's boat at the beginning of the day and then was there with them at night when they were having this discussion. So she had to have been there at the beginning and at the party at the very least. Then we remembered that the original shorts picture, well, that wasn't the color of his shorts, as we now know. So we also know for a fact that this picture did not get sent to Christine until July 5th, meaning that they had to have had that picture and then not sent it to her for hours. Because they also said this.
And so that's what we sent to her, or that's what she sent to her, because we were just trying.
So they corrected themselves. He said, we sent it. No, she sent it. And on July 5th, Christine said that they have been up for almost 48 hours straight. And then the very next post above it are the same pictures, but better quality. Why did it take so long to get these pictures to them? Oh, and y'all, now that I said that, I realize. So all of these pictures had to come from the same digital camera, right? Meaning this picture did as well. And since I've already proven that this picture had used AI to do something weird because, you know, there was no little bar here, only explanation for using AI on just this little part would be to obscure the reflection that was in this poll of the person who was taking the video or the pictures. Oh my God, yes. That makes sense. Love it when I figure that stuff out in real time for you on camera. So it makes sense to me that this photo video thing was altered to cover up this girl's swimsuit. Because let's face it, this swimsuit is the ugliest thing. It has like supposedly like sleeves and it's a tank bikini, but it goes like in a weird cut, but it's ugly. It's ugly and it's clearly not what these debutante beauty queen girls are wearing to a 4th of July beach party. So I'm like 70% sure that this is Ava. Oh, wait. Oh my God. Wait a second. Shown y'all guys before that there's 4 boats out here, this little cluster, right? But I'm looking at these weird pink lumps and stuff at the front of the boat, Bart's boat here. Is that a pile of life vests? Because I'm realizing there's not 20, 30 people on all of these boats. Like, I'm seeing 10, 12 people here tops. Let's not forget what a full house looks like on these boats. Because even in this video at the meetup place, there's not 20, 30 people getting ready to get on these boats. I mean, the boat left at 9:56, according to the GPS. We got like 7, 8 people here, like 6 people here. And also, if they were legitimately needing to be towed and they were trying to get the water to run off, why are they all spread out on the boat? Why are they on the boat in general? Why didn't they just get off on land or get on another boat? Trying to get the boat to tip up and go planing. Why do you have over half the boat on the front of the boat? These are experienced fucking fishermen. They know better than that. Yeah, I can't believe I've never thought of that before. If the boat was sinking, why are they even on the fucking boat? Yeah, and if it was so common and so easy to get, rides back with other people, strangers on Horn Island, why did they need to load everybody on the boat? Why were they yelling at Nolan to get on the boat? They didn't need to get him on the boat. And now that I'm looking at this, doesn't it look like Warren is on the phone? Could this have been when he was calling his mom 8 times? Also, one more thing that stuck out to me.
We called law enforcement. I was with Wyatt at the time after we left Jackson's house that night. I was with Wyatt, and we one person we were with saw that their location was headed towards Wyatt's house. And so Wyatt got on the phone with 911 and was like, hey, these people are on the way to my house or already at my house. My mom and my dad are there alone, and they know nothing about this.
He stumbled over his words from beginning to end in that story, so I don't believe any of it. But the one thing that sticks out to me was the phrasing, they don't know anything about this. If people are heading over to your house, why wouldn't you call your mom and dad before you called 911? Because it sounded like he was trying to keep his parents out of the loop of this story, which as a teenage boy implies that you have something to hide. Just a lot of different things to think about, right?
Here's something interesting that I didn't realize, did you? That first of all, the judge was on the island, according to Warren.
You could. If you want to sit, if you're motivated enough to do it, yeah. Like, I made a phone call to my mom, and I had to call her like 8 times before she picked up because either her service was bad, she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side, or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
She was on the island. That's very interesting. And here's another thing. This allegedly, on the ledge of allegedly, 911 call where they talk about going to the judge's house. Why would 911 get called to the judge's house? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox.
For the judge's house, wow. We're en route from the judge's house, wow. You said y'all are en route to the judge's house or from the judge's house? En route to the judge's house.
Hey, I'm just here asking the questions, not accusing, not saying anything at all, but it is a little bit odd, especially after the judge texted Christine just saying, if and when you ever want to talk, here's my number. Why would she say if or when? Why would she say if? It's weird.
We have a new update regarding Nolan Wells, and I'm going to say it. It is a bombshell piece of information regarding the Nolan Wells investigation. Over the last couple of days, you've heard me say that the family is waiting for the district attorney to get in touch with them to schedule that joint investigation and cell phone extraction. We just found out on August 13th, which was literally just 2 days ago, that said district attorney McElrath of the Jackson County, Mississippi, decided to send another letter to the family stating, you have 48 hours to drop off the cell phone. I'm sorry, is that the same thing as a joint investigation?
Somewhere on Horn Island, in the last hour anyone can account for, Nolan Wells was still alive. And somewhere between that hour and the phone call that told his mother he wasn't coming home, something happened that nobody on that boat has fully explained. 6 weeks later, there's a grand jury looking at this case. There's a phone that investigators still don't have in hand, and there's a mother who, instead of getting answers, is now being quietly scrutinized herself for the simple act of asking questions about her own son's last night alive. But if we're going to scrutinize somebody over that phone, let's actually ask all of it. What about the audio recording that's already been raised in this case? What about the fact that his phone and his keys were already sitting with someone else long before anybody called this a missing person investigation? And where's the dock footage? They released the footage of that boat leaving in the morning, so show us it coming back. If the camera happened to stop rolling the moment it mattered most, that's not evidence that went missing on its own. And right now, by his own description, the lawyer holding that phone has it under control, like there's something worth waiting out. A body decomposes. Evidence doesn't get more forgiving with time. So, what exactly is worth the wait? But before anyone puts that on a grieving mother, ask the bigger question. Why didn't law enforcement request that phone themselves the very first week? Because 6 weeks ago, before the medical examiner had even completed an autopsy, somebody had already decided this was a drowning. You do not get to rule a manner of death before the person whose job it is to determine it has finished the work. If this had been treated as an active death investigation from hour one, the phone, the keys, the boat, all of it, belonged in law enforcement's hands that same week, not argued over on a television panel weeks later. That failure sits with whoever closed the door on this case before the science was even in. And now there's a new question nobody in an official capacity wants to answer on the record. Why is the district attorney's office backing out of what was supposed to be a joint investigation? And this week, a TikTok creator who's been picking this case apart, frame by frame, says she found something in the boat footage that changes who was actually out there that day. We're going to show you exactly what she's claiming, and we're going to hold it up against what's actually been said on the record, because there's a difference between a theory that makes you feel something and a fact that can hold up in a courtroom. Tonight, we're covering both, and we're not going to pretend they're the same thing. And stick with us all the way through, because buried in Nancy Grace's own panel is a detail almost nobody's talking about, a digital forensics expert laying out, on the record, exactly what investigators can already pull from Nolan's phone without ever holding the device itself, and exactly where that ends. Once you understand where that line actually sits, a few things about how slow this investigation has moved are going to hit very differently.
Bombshell tonight in the Nolan Wells investigation. Tonight, the timeline seemingly blows up. This as Nolan's mother is investigated. Why? And tonight, possibly even more important, where is Nolan's phone?
We have a new update regarding Nolan Wells, and I'm going to say it. It is a bombshell piece of information regarding the Nolan Wells investigation. Over the last couple of days, you've heard me say that the family is waiting for the district attorney to get in touch with them to schedule that joint investigation and cell phone extraction. We just found out on August 13th, which was literally just 2 days ago, that said district attorney Mickelrath of the Jackson County, Mississippi, decided to send another letter to the family stating, you have 48 hours to drop off the cell phone. I'm sorry, is that the same thing as a joint investigation when the words are, you have 48 hours to drop off the cell phone, or you have 48 hours to, possess the cell phone for us? Is that the same thing as saying we're going to have a joint investigation? Don't you worry, I'm going to show you the letter right now. Here is the actual letter sent from A.R. Smith, the same attorney that sent out the letter on August 11th. I want to point your attention to right here. To date, Nolan's parents remain willing to facilitate an appropriate forensic examination of Nolan Wells' phone, including FBI involvement, according to our agreement on July 15th. However, your letter sent to Eric Hertz on August 12th at 12:51 p.m. set a deadline for Wednesday to deliver the phone to your office by August 14th at 9 a.m. This is not practical for a number of reasons. Now, that's a 2-page letter. I just showed you one of the excerpts. But the reason why it's not practical is 2 big reasons. And again, this is in that actual letter if you guys want to look it up. The first reason was that you agreed that there would be a joint investigation into the cell phone extraction investigation. But you're saying you need to drop the phone off at the office on August 14th at 9 a.m. That doesn't strike me as a joint investigation. That strikes me as give us the phone, we'll go through it, and then we'll get back to you later. The second reason why it's impractical is because at the time, the Wells family was actually nowhere near Mississippi or nowhere near an area where they could actually drop it off and be compliant with that deadline. So those are the two main reasons why. Now, again, you guys can read the letter yourself, but this now makes sense. This is why the family is so concerned, and this is why the family is so upset. Because the DA now is essentially going back on what they said, saying, we want you to drop off the phone on August 14th, when on July 15th, they said, we will do a joint investigation together. This is why the Wells family is so frustrated with this investigation. And this is why they're trying to get the Department of Justice involved. This is why all the leadership are getting involved in this, is because the family was under the expectation that the district attorney in Jackson County, Mississippi, was going to do a joint investigation based on the July 15th meeting. We just found out they may not want to do a joint investigation anymore. They're asking the Wells family to drop off the phone on August 14th at 9 a.m., which has already passed, but still just drop off the phone.
And to me, all that shit don't even matter. Why is it even taking a month to go through the damn phone in the first place?
That's not the same as offering a joint investigation.
Base 44 super agents, the next thing you can't live without.
Before we get to what the internet thinks it found in a photograph, we need to talk about something a lot less dramatic and a lot more concrete: a phone. Because that's where this case actually took a sharp turn this week, on live television, in front of a national audience. On a recent broadcast of Nancy Grace's Crime Stories, the panel spent most of the hour on one question that sounds almost too simple to be the center of a death investigation. Where is Nolan Wells's phone, and why doesn't law enforcement have it yet? Here's what's not in dispute. Nolan's phone did not go home with Nolan. It ended up, by multiple accounts, back with the group of young men who'd been out on the water with him that day, and eventually made its way to his mother, Christine. What happened to that phone in the hours and days after? Whether anything was ever deleted from it, whether it was ever handed over for a full forensic extraction, is where every single guest on that panel started talking over each other. Attorney Tyler Cox, representing the young men who were on the boat, said flatly that there's no truth to any claim of missing texts or missing Snapchats, because, in his words, his clients had no reason to do anything with Nolan's phone other than give it back. Clean statement. Direct denial. Then former Officer Brandon Tatum, who's interviewed several of the young men personally, said something that landed very differently. According to him, the family's own attorney only said they were prepared to cooperate as of a specific date weeks ago, which, Tatum pointed out, is not the same sentence as "we have cooperated." He called it troubling that a mother searching for the truth about her son wouldn't hand over the one device that could settle the question for good. Sit with that for a second, because it's worth sitting with. A mother is being asked, on national television, why she hasn't handed over her dead son's phone fast enough, while the young men who were the last ones with him are being defended for having no reason to touch it at all. Two different standards, applied to two different sides of the same tragedy, in the same 8 minutes of airtime. And it wasn't only the phone that came up. According to the same broadcast, the keys Nolan had with him that day never made their way back to his family either. They stayed with the group. Nobody on that panel had a clean answer for why a missing teenager's keys would end up anywhere other than back in his own family's hands the moment anyone realized something was wrong. A phone is easy to argue about because it's complicated. Passwords, cloud backups, forensic extraction. Keys are not complicated. Keys are simple, and simple is exactly what didn't happen here. Then there's the audio. There's a recording that's already been referenced publicly in connection with this case. A call placed that night. The kind of recording that either lines up with the timeline everyone's been given or doesn't. As of this broadcast, nobody on that panel would say plainly what's actually on it, who's listened to the whole thing, or why a recording that could settle a timeline dispute in minutes hasn't been laid out in full for the public, or, as far as anyone can confirm, for investigators. And then there's the footage. The boat leaving the dock that morning was filmed, and that footage has already made its way around. You've probably seen a version of it yourself. What hasn't surfaced anywhere, not once, is footage of that same boat coming back in. If a camera happened to be rolling when they left, the obvious question is whether one was rolling when they returned. And if the answer turns out to be no, that's not a technical glitch. That's a choice. And choices, in a case like this, are exactly what get asked about in front of a grand jury. And this is where it stops being a talking point and starts being something a forensics expert can actually answer. Because Nancy Grace didn't just let the lawyers argue about it. She brought in Heather Barnhart, a digital forensics expert with Cellebrite, the same technology used to pull evidence off Brian Kohberger's devices and off Alex Murdaugh's murdered son's phone. And what Barnhart said should matter more than anything the lawyers said, because it's not an opinion, it's how the technology actually works. Deleted photos on a phone don't just vanish, they sit in a recoverable folder for weeks. A Snapchat message that hasn't been opened yet lives on Snap's own servers for up to 30 days, and if law enforcement sends a legal request before it's gone, it can still be pulled. The digital trail doesn't disappear just because someone hits delete. Which means this isn't actually a mystery that has to stay unsolved. It's a question with a technical answer, sitting on a phone that, as of this broadcast, still hadn't been examined. Think about what that actually means for Christine Wells. Somewhere out there is a device that could tell her, in black and white, what her son's last hours looked like, who he was texting, what he was seeing, maybe even where he was standing when he sent his last message. And 6 weeks in, she still doesn't get to know. Not because the technology can't tell her, because nobody with the authority to demand that phone has demanded it yet. Do you think the delay in handing over the phone means something was deleted, or is this normal legal caution? Drop your vote below. So before a single TikTok theory enters this story, here's where things actually stand, confirmed, on the record. There is a grand jury looking at this case. The boat, as of this broadcast, had not been searched by cadaver dogs. The keys never made it back to the family. There's an audio recording that hasn't been laid out publicly in full. There's no footage of that boat returning to the dock, only footage of it leaving. And the phone that could answer the biggest open question in this entire investigation was still sitting untouched by forensic investigators. 6 weeks after a young man went out on the water and never came back. A grand jury isn't a formality, and it isn't for show. It's a room full of ordinary citizens, reviewing whatever evidence a prosecutor chooses to put in front of them, deciding whether there's enough here to bring formal charges against somebody. Nobody outside that room knows yet what's actually been presented, or who it's being presented about. But the fact that one exists at all tells you this stopped being treated as a simple accident a long time ago, no matter what the initial paperwork said. And the cadaver dogs matter more than people realize. A department doesn't bring in a cadaver-trained K9 to walk a boat everybody already agrees was empty when it came back to shore. That step gets taken when there's a reason to ask whether a boat is carrying a scent trail it shouldn't be. As of this broadcast, that step, small as it sounds, still hadn't happened. One of the most basic tools available to actually settle a question, instead of arguing about it on a television panel, was sitting on a shelf. Now, to be fair, and this show only works if we're fair to every side of it, that's not the whole picture. According to Tyler Cox, and confirmed on the same broadcast, the young men's side says they made the dogs available. They told civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump he was welcome to bring cadaver dogs out and search the Triton himself. Crump declined. And when you follow the actual legal logic, instead of the headline, that decision holds up. A private attorney, no matter how well known, doesn't have the authority to order a scent dog search on somebody else's boat. That's a law enforcement function.
He'd have did that shit, that shit would have been illegal, and they'd have been in trouble. And this phone situation is real curious for me because I'm trying to figure out, like, what I mean, maybe it was a video that showed, maybe they could show what happened or what they was doing, which probably give a reason for motive. But I've been thinking, like, even if the phone do come up, like, what kind of evidence can this phone provide?
Defense attorney Philip Dubé put it about as plainly as it can be put on live television. You cannot search someone else's property without the authority to do it, and only the agency with jurisdiction has that authority. So the boat sat unsearched, not because one side flatly refused, but because the one entity that actually has the legal power to order it, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, never did. Then there's the autopsy, and this one matters more than almost anything else in this story. 2 medical examiners have weighed in, and as of this broadcast, neither has given the public a determined cause of death. One is reportedly still waiting on toxicology. The other reportedly listed the death as undetermined, in part because there wasn't enough of the body left to fully examine by the time it was recovered. Read that twice. 6 weeks after Nolan went into the water, there is still no confirmed official cause of death on record, which makes it worth asking how drowning became the working theory quickly enough to shape how this case was handled in its very first hours. And there's the question of who actually got tested and how. Several of the young men reportedly sat for something described as a computer voice stress analysis, not a polygraph. Different technology, different theory of deception, and by every account given on that broadcast, not admissible in court and not without real limitations. One of them, Warren, reportedly didn't sit for even that. Meanwhile, according to the same broadcast, the group's own phones, not Nolan's, theirs, were voluntarily handed over to the FBI. So phones did move toward federal investigators in this case, just not the one phone everybody actually needs answers from. That's the part of this story that's real, documented, and still unresolved. Every one of those threads, the phone, the keys, the tape, the missing return footage, the grand jury, the dogs that never got the call, the cause of death nobody's confirmed, was sitting there in plain sight before anyone on the internet ever opened a video editor. And then, 2 days ago, this stopped being an argument people were having on television and became something you can actually read for yourself. On August 13th, the Wells family's attorney received a letter from District Attorney McElrath's office out of Jackson County, Mississippi. Not a check-in, not a scheduling email, a letter giving the family 48 hours to physically deliver Nolan's phone to the DA's office by 9 a.m. on August 14th. Walk through that timeline with me, because it's the whole story. Back on July 15th, according to the family's own attorney, there was an actual agreement in place, a joint investigation into the phone, with the FBI involved, both sides present for the extraction. That was the understanding the family says they'd been operating under for weeks. Then, on August 12th, at 12:51 in the afternoon, a letter went out, setting a hard deadline less than 21 hours later, demanding the phone be dropped off at the DA's office alone. The family's attorney responded within a day, laying out plainly why that demand wasn't workable, starting with the fact that the family wasn't even in the state when the letter arrived, and ending with the point that should be obvious to anyone reading it. Drop the phone off at our office by 9 a.m., and joint investigation are not the same sentence. One is a partnership. The other is a handoff, followed by silence, followed by whatever the office decides to release once the phone is already behind their doors and nobody else is in the room. That's not a technicality. That's a documented, dated reversal, a real agreement in July, followed by a real ultimatum in August, in writing, from the exact office that's supposed to be running an impartial investigation into how a 19-year-old ended up dead. And it directly answers the question we opened this video with. Why is the district attorney's office backing out of a joint investigation? Because 2 days before this video went up, that's exactly what the paper trail shows happening, in real time, while a mother is still waiting to find out what's actually on her son's phone. Do you think the DA's 48-hour deadline was a legitimate move to secure evidence, or a bait-and-switch on the July agreement? Drop your vote below. Now here's where it gets darker. Because this week, before any of this letter had even surfaced, someone went looking at the actual boat footage from that day, frame by frame, and says she found something that nobody's been talking about.
I was the first one to ever join the military in my family.
This shit crazy, man. This shit just get crazier by the day.
I'm probably going to take a couple days off because my brain needs a rest after the last couple of days. Now we know for sure that there was storage in the bow of the boat. All right.
Before we get into this next part, one thing needs to be said plainly, because it matters more here than almost anywhere else in this story. Everything in this section is a theory, not a finding, not a confirmed fact. A theory built by one creator, frame by frame, off publicly available photos and video. No forensic lab has verified it. No court has weighed it. We're going to show you exactly what she's claiming and exactly how she got there. And then we're going to tell you, honestly, what actually holds up and what doesn't. That's the deal we make with you every time we cover a case like this. And tonight is no different. Her theory starts with a single photo, the Triton, sitting at the dock, supposedly early on the day everyone went out to Horn Island. And she says something in that photo doesn't line up. Look closely, she argues, and there's a section near the front of the boat, right around a metal pole, that looks smoothed over. No visible seam where a shadow should fall. No consistent reflection where the water and the boat hull should be catching light the same way in every other frame. Her read is that a photo editing tool, possibly an AI-assisted one, was used to erase something that was originally reflected there. And her working guess is that whatever got erased was a person standing close enough to the camera that their reflection would have shown up in that pole. Now, here's where we have to slow down. Digital image artifacts happen constantly for reasons that have nothing to do with a cover-up. Compression, resaving a photo multiple times, a phone's own built-in smoothing filter, screenshotting a screenshot. None of that requires anyone to have doctored anything. Is it possible the image was edited? Sure. Is a slightly too smooth patch of pixels on a boat pole, by itself, proof that somebody erased a person from a crime scene photo? No. That's not how forensic image analysis works, and no actual digital forensics expert has looked at this photo on the record. So we're flagging her observation because it's specific and it's checkable, but we are not telling you it's proven because it isn't. What she does with that observation next is where it gets more speculative. She spends a long stretch of her video trying to match up who's in every boat photo from that day, cross-referencing swim trunk colors, hat styles, who's standing next to who, and she lands on one figure who keeps showing up at the edges of different photos in a distinctive red and white striped swimsuit and a backwards baseball cap. Her theory is that this person was actually on the Triton itself, and that whoever altered the photo did it specifically to keep that person's presence quiet. Do you think there's something to the smoothed pixel photo theory, or is this reading too much into normal image compression? Drop your vote below. And this is where we have to be really careful and really direct with you. In her video, she goes further and puts a name to that swimsuit. She guesses, based on the outfit and who's standing near who in later photos, that it might be a specific young woman connected to the group, and she speculates about how close that person appeared to be with one of the boys. We're not going to repeat that guess here as if it's established, and honestly, we'd encourage you to think hard before repeating it yourself. Nobody has confirmed who that is. If she guessed wrong, that's a real person's name and reputation getting attached to a theory about a death investigation for no reason at all. That's exactly the kind of thing this channel tries not to do, and we're not going to do it just because someone else already did it first. What we can tell you, on the record, is something we already covered back in part 1. There is a documented, unknown female reference in the Jackson County Sheriff's Office report itself. Deputies wrote that several friends who'd been on the vessel with Nolan told them he was last seen in the company of a woman investigators haven't identified. That's not a TikTok theory. That's in the actual report. And several of the young men involved have publicly said, more than once, that they weren't on the same boat as Nolan that day, which raises a real, fair question that has nothing to do with photo pixels. If none of them were on that boat, who exactly gave police that account? Somebody stood in front of a deputy and said those words. 6 weeks later, there's still no name attached to it in anything that's been made public. The next thread she pulls on is the Coast Guard call, and this one's worth slowing down for too, because the wording actually matters here in a way that isn't speculative at all. According to her account of what Warren told Nolan's mother that first night, he said he knew somebody in the Coast Guard and that he was going to call them. Listen to that sentence again. I know someone in the Coast Guard and I'll call them is not the same sentence as I called the Coast Guard. One is a personal favor, the other is opening an official case file, and that distinction lines up with something we can actually confirm. The Coast Guard's own initial public statement said they weren't notified until 12:30 that morning, a statement that later quietly changed. Whether that first contact was a real emergency call or one teenager reaching a personal contact off the record is still an open question nobody involved has cleared up. That's not a theory. That's a documented gap between what was said happened and what the Coast Guard itself first said on the record about when they actually got involved. She also spends time on the boat's movements that night, the multiple stops, the detour back toward Fort Bayou instead of straight to the dock, a sea tow call that gets described as getting muted partway through, and a "we're untying now" moment on video that happens while, by her read, that call should still have been in progress. Some of that is genuinely worth a raised eyebrow. Some of it is also the kind of thing that happens naturally when a group of panicked teenagers are juggling a disabled boat, spotty cell service, and half a dozen different phone calls at once. We're not going to pretend every awkward pause in a chaotic night is evidence of a cover-up, but we're also not going to pretend a stumbling, inconsistent retelling of your own timeline, on camera, more than once, doesn't earn scrutiny. It does. That's just true of any account, in any case, from anybody. And then there's Katie. Every single account we have of Nolan's final hours on that island runs through her, secondhand, filtered through what other people say she told them, or what other people assumed happened between them. Not one word of it, in 6 weeks, has come from her own mouth. No interview, no public statement, nothing. To be fair, there are legitimate, non-sinister reasons a family keeps a young woman out of the spotlight in a case like this. Lawyers advise silence constantly, for reasons that have nothing to do with guilt. Protecting someone from the exact kind of pile-on every other name in this case has already endured is a reasonable call, not an automatic red flag. We're not accusing her of anything, and you shouldn't either. But here's what's genuinely hard to get past. The person closest to Nolan's actual last hours, the one witness who could answer more of these open questions in a single conversation than every panel, every letter, and every frame-by-frame photo analysis combined, has never spoken publicly, in any format, anywhere. That's not a rumor. That's not a theory. That's a real, documented hole sitting in the exact center of this timeline, and it's been there since day one. Do you think Katie should be expected to speak publicly, or is staying silent the right call for her? Drop your vote below. So here's where that leaves us, honestly. A photo with a smoothed-over patch that might mean nothing and might mean something. A Call the Coast Guard story that doesn't hold up word for word against the Coast Guard's own timeline. An unnamed woman in an actual police report that nobody has explained. And one witness who could clear up more of this in a single sentence than anyone else in this case, who still hasn't said a word. We're not calling this solved. Nobody honest would. But we're also not done, because there's one more piece of this that hasn't made it into any panel, any letter, or any TikTok video yet. And it might be the part that finally makes all these other threads make sense.
Here's something interesting that I didn't realize, did you? That first of all, the judge was on the island, according to Warren.
You could. If you want to sit there, if you're motivated enough to do it, yeah. Like, I made a phone call to my mom, and I had to call her like 8 times before she picked up.
Same rule as last time. Everything in this section is his read on a detail, not a finding, and we're going to tell you exactly where the line is between what's actually in the clip and what's his interpretation of it. Before we get into what he found, it's worth explaining why an unaccounted-for adult even matters in a case like this, because on its face, it can sound like a small thing to hang a whole segment on. It isn't. In any death investigation, investigators build what's called a timeline of last known movements. Who was where, with who, at what time, confirmed by more than one source. It's not about suspicion. It's about narrowing down the truth until there's nowhere left for a story to slip. Every adult who was actually present that day is a data point in that timeline. Leave one out, whether by accident or on purpose, and the whole picture stays blurrier than it needs to be. That's the frame he's working from, whether he says it in those words or not. He starts this part of his video by going back to something small, something that had already been said publicly, weeks earlier, and mostly passed by without much notice. Warren, in his own interview, describing why it took so long to reach his mother that night, says he tried calling her 8 times before she picked up, because her service was bad. She was, in his words, on the backside of the island, on the south side. That's it. That's the whole clip. But his read on it is this. If Warren's mother was on the island that day, then the roster of who was actually out there, the one everyone's been working off for 6 weeks, is missing at least one adult. Nobody's disputing Warren said it. The question he's raising is simpler than people give him credit for. Why has this detail never come up anywhere else, in any other interview, from any other person who was supposedly there? And here's where it's worth pulling in something Warren himself said, in a different part of the same round of interviews, because it doesn't quite sit next to the 8 calls story the way you'd want it to. In one account, he describes cell service on Horn Island as basically fine. A little off the island, you have cell coverage, and, in his words, he called his mother while they were out there, and it was fine. In another account, the same phone call becomes 8 attempts, bad service, a struggle to get through. Those are 2 different descriptions of the exact same kind of call from the exact same person, and they don't match. Maybe there's a simple explanation. Different moments, different spots on the water, service that comes and goes the way it actually does near open water. That happens. But it's also exactly the kind of inconsistency that, in any other case, would get flagged as worth clarifying, not waved off because we like the person telling it. 2 different descriptions of the same phone call, normal inconsistency or worth a follow-up question. Drop your vote below. Then he connects it to a second detail, a reference in what he describes as a 911 call to a group heading toward the judge's house that night. And he asks plainly, on camera, why would a 911 call reference somebody's house that isn't the address of the person who's missing, or the address of the boat, or the address anyone's actually explained? Why the judge's house, specifically, and who is the judge to this story? This is also a good place to slow down and connect it to something we already told you about back in the hook in part 1, because it might not be the same call at all, and figuring out whether it is or isn't actually matters. Separately, in the boy's own account of that night, Wyatt is the one described as calling 911, not about Nolan being missing, but because a group of people, tracking a phone's location, appeared to be headed toward his own house, and he wanted police there before they arrived. That's a documented call, described by more than one of the boys in their own words. Is that the same 911 reference he's pointing to when he says, the judge's house, just remembered or mislabeled differently by different people? Or is it a second, separate call that hasn't been publicly accounted for at all? We genuinely don't know, and neither does he. But it's a real question, and it's the kind of thing that a single page of dispatch logs would settle in about 5 minutes, if anyone released them. And the third piece is a text message he says was sent to Christine from that same person that reads roughly, "If and when you ever want to talk, here's my number." He lingers on that phrasing, specifically the word if, not when you're ready, not whenever you want, if, as in maybe never. To him, that's not the way you'd expect someone close to the family, sitting on relevant information, to reach out to a mother in the middle of the worst weeks of her life. Does if and when you ever want to talk sound like odd phrasing to you, or is this reading too much into a text message? Drop your vote below. We want to be fair to the other reading of that same text too, because it exists and it deserves airtime. Grief makes people say strange, clipped, overly careful things to each other. So does guilt, sometimes. So does simple awkwardness, not knowing what to say to a mother whose son just died, and reaching for language that keeps the door open without demanding anything of her. If and when could be somebody protecting Christine's space to grieve on her own terms.
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app with Base 44. Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible. Nina can't code. Interesting. Can it generate reports?
It can now.
Nice. So you're saying we can all build apps now?
Yeah.
I'm on lunch. I gotta.
It could also be somebody keeping their distance on purpose. Both readings fit the same 4 words. That's exactly why a single text message on its own was never going to be the thing that cracks this case open, and why it's worth exactly what it is. One more odd detail in a story that has accumulated a lot of them. To his credit, he's careful about how he frames all 3 of these. He says it himself, on camera. I'm just here asking the questions, not accusing, not saying anything at all. And that's actually the right instinct, even if the internet doesn't always follow his lead on it. It's also worth being honest about the other side of that phrase, because "I'm just asking questions" is a line that can do 2 very different jobs. Sometimes it's genuine caution, a way of surfacing something real without overstating what it proves. Other times, in true crime content generally, it's a way of putting an accusation into the world while keeping enough distance to say you never actually made one. We're not telling you which one this is. We're telling you that both exist, and that it's on us, and on you, to hold the line between them, not just on his behalf, but on ours too, every time we cover a case like this one. Because here's where we have to be straight with you, the same way we were in part 2. An adult being somewhere on an island where teenagers are gathered is not, on its own, evidence of anything. A 911 call referencing a house is not the same as that house being a crime scene, and one slightly clinical text message is not proof of guilt. Plenty of people are just bad at texting during a crisis, including people with nothing to hide. 3 odd details, taken together, earn a question. They don't earn a verdict, and we're not going to hand you one we don't actually have. What they do earn is the same thing every other thread in this story has earned: a name, a timeline, and an on-the-record explanation, none of which currently exist. If there's an adult who was on that island and hasn't been accounted for anywhere in 6 weeks of interviews, that's a gap in the story, regardless of who he turns out to be. Gaps get filled by facts, not by a comment section. And speaking of the comment section, it's worth being honest with you about how far this has already run without them. Ask people watching this case who that unnamed adult actually is, and you'll get several confident, completely contradictory answers. Some say it's Nolan's mother. Some say a stepmother. Some throw out other names entirely. Every one of those answers is somebody guessing. None of them is confirmed. We're telling you that not to add another guess to the pile, but because it's the clearest evidence yet of exactly the problem this whole video keeps circling back to. 6 weeks of silence from the people who could just answer the question, filled in by whoever's willing to guess loudest. And the frustrating part is how easy this particular gap would be to close, compared to almost everything else in this case. This isn't a forensic extraction that takes weeks and a court order. This is dispatch logs, a matter of public record in most jurisdictions, showing exactly what address a 911 call referenced and exactly when it came in. It's phone records, the kind that get pulled in ordinary cases every single day, showing who called who, from where, at what time, cross-referenced against cell tower pings that can place a phone within a few hundred yards. None of that requires anyone to hand over a password or unlock a device. It requires an investigator picking up that specific thread and pulling it all the way through, instead of letting it sit next to everything else that's gone unanswered for 6 weeks. And underneath all of it is still just a mother, sitting with a version of events that keeps growing new edges every time somebody re-watches an old interview closely enough. Christine didn't ask for a stranger's frame-by-frame photo analysis to become part of how her son's death gets discussed. She didn't ask for a text message she received in private to end up dissected in a comment section by people who will never meet her. What she asked for, from the very first phone call, was simple. Where is my son? 6 weeks later, buried somewhere underneath a grand jury, a DA's ultimatum letter, a disputed photograph, and now an unaccounted-for adult on an island. That's still the only question that actually matters. Everything else in this video exists because that one question hasn't been answered yet. So here's where 3 parts into this story actually leaves us. A phone that's still not in investigators' hands. A DA's office that agreed to a joint investigation in July and sent a 48-hour ultimatum in August. A photo with a smoothed-over patch nobody's forensically confirmed means anything. An unnamed woman sitting in an actual sheriff's report. And now, an adult present on that island, by Warren's own account, who nobody's named, explained, or asked about on the record. We're not going to manufacture certainty we don't have. What we can tell you is that every one of these threads points at the same 2 things: a family that still doesn't have the answers it's owed, and an investigation that has had 6 weeks to close these gaps and hasn't. Until that changes, we'll keep pulling on every thread that's actually there, and leaving alone the ones that are just guesses wearing a headline.
That were on the boat that day.
Tito's has a new 100 milliliter bottle. This is 100 milliliters.
Officer Tatum, thank you for being with us. Let me talk about this one moment. We've got so much to get to. I'm going to try to be brief. Tyler Cox stating, I don't think they cooperated at all. I think he's talking about Nolan's family. They, I guess the sheriff's office, haven't had access to Nolan's phone. Well, can't they subpoena that? It's called a subpoena ducis tecum. You're familiar with those. You've testified in court. A subpoena ducis tecum is, we hear about subpoenas for testimony. I've been subpoenaed. Yes, go to court and tell the truth. A subpoena ducis tecum is for an item, an object, a document. The sheriff can give out a subpoena ducis tecum or get a warrant for an object. So you don't have it? Fine, get it. Next. So how can you say I'm quoting, how can you say there's no text message or photo, as a text message or photo is missing? Our boys had no reason to do anything with Nolan's phone other than give it back. So seeing anything about missing texts or Snapchats completely false. Well, according to the mom, Officer Tatum, she says that there was nothing sent out while Nolan was at Horn Island, which she found very odd. I have no reason to disbelieve her. So how can you say there were missing or there weren't missing? I don't think you can say it either way. Why don't they just get a search warrant and go get the phone? You know what? Forget all that. Officer Tatum, where is Nolan's phone? Do authorities have it?
Well, from my understanding, authorities do not have it, and the family have not been cooperating with authorities to give the phone over. According to the testimony or written statement from the lawyer that represents the family, the Nolan Wells family, he had made mention that he's prepared to cooperate, but they have not cooperated yet, which is very interesting to me. You want to find out what happened to your son. You would think you would be doing everything you can to cooperate. I can't judge her. I don't know what's in their mind, but it just seems to be very off-putting for them not to at least give the phone over and do what exactly they told the world they were going to do, and that is to allow a forensic extraction of his phone. Therefore, the world can see if there is things that have been deleted. I think Tyler Cox is very clear about what he's saying, that the boys had nothing to do with it. So if there is anything missing from the phone, it had nothing to do with them. Now, I'll add this. When you look at what Christine said.
Brandon, wait, I'm going to go right back to what you're saying, but you're saying a lot, and I want to address each thing so we don't leave anything out. Number one, you just stated that, basically. Correct me, you can paraphrase this any way you want to. It looks really bad for Nolan's family not to hand over the phone. Do you have any independent knowledge they have not handed over the phone?
According to their lawyer that wrote a statement, and the statement was, we're prepared to cooperate, but that was as of the 11th. Therefore, they have not cooperated. Tyler Cox has made mention that he don't believe they cooperated whatsoever. He don't believe they cooperated whatsoever as well. So
extrapolating, you're taking the words, Tatum, that their words that they're prepared to cooperate to mean they haven't handed over the phone. Isn't that true?
I'm putting everything together, right? We have Tyler Cox that's coming out and saying that he has no indication whatsoever they've cooperated. The family has not come out and said that there's any findings. And then also the attorney that represents the family is saying that we haven't sent or gave the phone over, but we're willing to. And that was as of the 11th.
No,
so it appears that there's no indication that.
Brandon, you may very well be a lot smarter than me, but I can hear. Okay. The statement was, we're prepared to cooperate. I guess from Crump. That does
I'm not
not
sure
mean
if it was.
We have not handed over the phone, but we will.
Well, Nancy, when you put it all, you have to put the totality of circumstance together. I'm not there to be in the room with the investigators to determine, but I'm just going off of what knowledge we have and that's been given to us that's available. And what Tyler Cox is saying, and I'm taking him at his word, he's saying that there's no indication that they've cooperated. The lawyers that represent the family is saying we're prepared, but they did not say that they've cooperated whatsoever. So I'm looking at the statements that are produced, and all of the statements indicate that there has not been a cooperation with the phone being extracted from investigators. Therefore, there is no true determination that things were missing from the phone. Well, we have no other.
All I have nothing else to go off of. Prepared to cooperate. For all I know, that means we'll come in for questioning. We'll let you search his belongings. It can mean anything. That does not equal we have not handed over the phone. But hey, you know what?
Nancy, it's been weeks.
You say tomato, I say tomato, because it kind of doesn't matter. And I'll tell you why it doesn't matter. Actually, I'll let an expert tell us why it doesn't matter. To Heather Barnhart joining us, digital forensics expert with Celebrite. We learned all about Celebrite during the Alex Murdaugh trial. That's how we got everything off of his dead, murdered son's phone. And the SANS Institute, SANS. She is one of the preeminent digital forensic experts in the country. She helped crack the Brian Kohberger case, and she is co-author of Practical Mobile Forensics, now in its 4th edition. That means that many people have used it.
How's your back,
Heather, thank you for being with us. If the phone, I don't care where it is. Okay, actually, I do care where it is. I want to know that it's been handed over. I don't have to have the phone to know what's on the phone if it's in the cloud. It looks like an iPhone to me. So my argument with Officer Tatum is academic. It doesn't matter if I can get it from the cloud. So Nolan's phone missing. So what? I can download it. I can get it.
Data will exist in the cloud if he's syncing to iCloud and third-party applications. However, having physical access to the phone is where the databases exist that will have the truth on deletion. So you really need to get a full file system extraction of his phone as quickly as possible. So if it's not handed over to authorities now, it needs to be, because this was over a month ago now.
Do you have to have the phone to do the extraction? What about the cloud?
Cloud data is different, and there's a lot of information there. There could be unique information in the cloud that's been removed from the phone, if anything was removed, but it's best to have both cloud and the phone to paint the entire pattern of behavior and to see the truth.
We've spent 3 parts on what people are claiming. This part is different. This part is about how any of this actually gets proven, one way or the other. Because underneath every theory we've covered tonight, there's a real, unglamorous process that either happens or doesn't. So let's slow all the way down and walk through it, step by step, the way an investigator actually would. How digital forensics actually works. When Nancy Grace brought in Heather Barnhart, she wasn't bringing on just another talking head. Barnhart works with Celebrite, the same extraction technology used to pull evidence off Brian Kohberger's devices and off the phone belonging to Alex Murdaugh's murdered son. She's co-authored the field's standard reference text, now in its 4th edition. When someone with that background tells you how phone forensics actually works, that's not opinion, that's the floor of what's technically true, and it's worth understanding for yourself instead of just taking anyone's word for it, hers, ours, or anyone else's. Here's the floor. A phone syncs data to the cloud, photos, messages, app activity, as long as it's connected to iCloud or a similar service. If law enforcement wants that data, they can often get a version of it without ever touching the physical device, through a legal request to the cloud provider. That's real, and it's useful. But it's not the whole picture, and this is the part that actually matters for this case. The physical phone holds something the cloud doesn't, the device's own internal databases, the ones that record not just what's on the phone right now, but the history of what used to be there and when it was removed. If you want to know whether something was deleted, and when, and by whom, you need the phone itself, not just what's synced off of it. Cloud data and phone data tell you different parts of the same story. You need both to see the whole thing. That's not a talking point. That's how the technology is built. And it's why the cloud has it, so who cares if we have the phone? An argument that came up more than once in this case doesn't actually hold up under its own logic. The cloud might have a copy. It won't have the deletion history. Only the device does. Why a missing phone isn't automatically suspicious, and why it isn't automatically nothing either. One of the sharper exchanges in this whole case was over a simple premise. Teenagers don't separate from their phones. Officer Tatum raised it, and Nancy Grace pushed back on it with her own example. Swimming with her kids, her phone stayed on the boat, and she made sure it came back with her when she did. Neither one of them is wrong, exactly. Phones get left behind on boats constantly, for completely mundane reasons. Dead battery, somebody grabs the wrong bag, a group splits across multiple boats, and it just doesn't make the trip back with the right person. According to the boy's account, Nolan wasn't even the only person who left a phone behind that day. That's a real, ordinary explanation, and it deserves to be treated as one. But ordinary explanations exist is not the same sentence as, therefore nothing needs to be checked. The honest, detective brain answer here is, a phone getting left behind is common. A phone that then sits with someone else's family for weeks, without ever being handed to the one agency that could actually settle every question about it with a forensic extraction. That's the part that isn't ordinary. The leaving it behind is boring. The 6 weeks after is not. Which part actually bothers you more? That the phone was left on the boat, or that it still hasn't been forensically examined 6 weeks later? Drop your vote below. How a boat search actually gets authorized. This is the part almost nobody explains clearly, and it's worth getting right, because a huge amount of the online anger in this case is aimed in the wrong direction over it. Cadaver dogs were, according to this broadcast, made available to attorney Benjamin Crump by the young men's side, an offer to bring dogs out and search the Triton. Crump didn't take them up on it.
I looked a lot different. I started my degree in 1986 and 30 years later decided to complete my goals. The support system that you get with Purdue Global, just being in the military, you actually get assigned a person who will stay with you and walks you through step by step. Earning my degree with Purdue Global has given me the confidence to show me that I am not too old. I can do it. This is my comeback. Start yours today at purdueglobal.edu.
There will always be an affordable Chevy to keep you moving.
Right now, well-qualified buyers get 2.9% APR on all 2026 Chevy Trax models.
That's the day Chevrolet.
And the reason isn't complicated once a lawyer actually explains it. Defense attorney Philip Dubet laid out, plainly, that a private citizen, even a nationally known civil rights attorney representing a grieving family, cannot authorize a search of somebody else's property. Not legally. Not procedurally. That's not his call to make, and it was never going to be, regardless of who offered what to whom. Only the agency with jurisdiction, in this case, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, has the legal authority to bring in a cadaver dog and have that search mean anything if it ever needed to hold up in a courtroom. So here's the detective-level version of what actually happened with the boat. An offer was made. It wasn't accepted, because accepting it wouldn't have been legally meaningful even if it had been. And the one entity that could have made it meaningful, law enforcement, never did it themselves. That's not a gotcha against either side. It's a structural gap in how this investigation has been run, and it's still open. How a medical examiner actually determines drowning, and why drowned doesn't automatically mean accident. This is maybe the most genuinely educational thread in the whole case, and it comes from forensic pathologist Joe Scott Morgan, who's conducted over 10,000 death investigations. Here's what he explained, in plain terms. Drowning isn't always a standalone cause of death. Someone can sustain a head injury, lose consciousness, fall into water, and drown, meaning the drowning is real, but it's not the whole story, and it's not necessarily an accident. Medical examiners look at specific physical evidence to reconstruct what happened, the lungs, to assess water intake, the inner ear, which is one of the areas most telling in a drowning case, and the brain, which can show swelling under certain circumstances. It's not one test. It's a pattern, built from multiple points of physical evidence, and it takes time to do right. Which is exactly why the current state of this case, an autopsy reportedly complete, but no publicly released cause of death, and a second examiner who reportedly couldn't fully complete an assessment because there wasn't enough of the body left to examine, actually matters as much as any theory about a photo or a text message. The single most important forensic fact in this entire case, the one thing that would either close off or open up almost every other question, is a cause of death that still hasn't been made public. Everything else, the phone, the boat, the keys, the tape, the unnamed adult on the island, is investigators and internet sleuths alike working around a hole in the middle of the case that only a medical examiner's report can actually fill. So if you take nothing else from this deep dive, take this. None of what we've covered across 4 parts is unsolvable. Every single thread has an actual, known process that resolves it. A forensic extraction resolves the phone. A properly authorized search resolves the boat. A completed and released autopsy resolves the cause of death. None of it requires guessing. It requires someone with the authority to do it, actually doing it. 6 weeks in, that's still the part missing. Not evidence, not theories, not clips to argue over. Just somebody finishing the job.
This is Buick now.
Buick, exceptional by design. Get 1.9% APR on Envista. Plus, current eligible non-GM owners get an Envista Preferred for under $26,000.
For the first time in history, we are living in a society with 7 different generations who don't seem to see eye to eye. Who here has experienced the Gen Z stare?
It takes us a second to kind of maybe buffer and kind of...
Like, your brain is doing this. It's still
like loading, literally loading.
We call it brain fog.
Yeah.
On the flip side of Gen Z, I hear that the boomers are partying. They're having sex. They're smoking a lot of pot.
The boomers had free love in the 1960s, and now they have free love in their 60s.
We, as the older generation, aren't prepared for a generation that actually grew up in this technological age of being on their phones. They don't know how to connect.
They're not out playing with their friends. They're not solving problems on their own, developing that resilience and toughness.
I had one of my girls who started working as an architect. She's calling me about work-life balance. And I'm like, what the hell?
This is by far the biggest generational difference in work attitudes.
If one generation has expectations, the other generation doesn't care, how do we ever find middle ground? Hi, everyone. I am delighted to be here with you on the Oprah podcast for the first time in history. Did you all know this, that we are living in a society with 7 different generations who don't seem to see eye to eye or even speak the same language sometimes. And how is that showing up in our workplace, in your school, or within your own family? I wanted to ask the audience, what do you all think are the stereotypes about your own generation or other generations? So Tanya, you're a millennial, which is ages 30 to 45 now. Y'all are getting older. Y'all are getting older. What do you want to say?
It frustrates me with Gen Z. I think their communication style is just a completely different style. It kind of lacks respect sometimes, whereas I feel like millennials, we take a bit more care and respect in how we communicate.
Okay, so you think millennials are more careful in their respect. Okay, thank you. I need a boomer now. That's ages 62 to 80. That's my group. Brenda?
Hi, I'm an educator. And one thing that I see, or several things that I see that are missing from generations, because I've been doing this for a while, is work ethic, accountability, and toughness. So the type of toughness that I grew up with, or accountability that led to toughness, I don't see it. I have a lot of students who don't meet timelines and
don't respect timelines.
They don't respect timelines.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of excuses for why they can't get things done.
Mm-hmm.
And they show up whenever they want to class. And that's a problem. And so, and the work ethic, they don't always give their best work when I know that they can do better. So
okay.
Definitely.
Okay. I see a lot of Gen Zers here. Hello. Thank you all. That's ages 14 to 29. Madeline, your thoughts?
With Gen Z personally, I think that there was 2 events that really impacted how we kind of changed our behavior and kind of influenced how we moved forward. And I think a lot of technology advancements and COVID really impacted majority of people of my generation. And we kind of got left in this space where we weren't getting a lot of guidance from other generations, because I don't think the older generations knew how to teach us how to navigate these things, because it was the first time anyone was experiencing it. But I really think it did impact and change my generation, because I think we are associated with a lot of negative stereotypes, but I think we were kind of expected to go through these things without knowing anything, and we're expected to know everything.
Okay, so there's a lack of leadership, you say. What about what Tanya said earlier? Do you think that there is a problem in the level of respect?
I think there's a divide in Gen Z. I think there's a lot of people who do lack respect, but I think there's also a big part of my generation who does have that respect. I think that kind of comes down to a lot of external factors, but I do notice that there's a big divide in my generation with how we act and how we speak and how we behave.
Okay. And Gen X, I hear Gen X feels like they're the ignored middle children. What do you want to say about that, Kim?
I'm Gen X, and we're the forgotten generation. There's so much said, and like the media and the culture, our culture, about pitting millennials against baby boomers. And it's like, we don't exist and we're right here, front and center. So what happens is we get looked over for jobs, for healthcare, all sorts of things. But we're right here.
Yeah. And so what is that age range for Gen Xers? What is that?
So it's Gen X is those born between 1965 and 1979.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for your comments. To help us unpack all this, I'm joined by psychologist, professor, and best-selling author, Jean Twenge. She's the author of Generations, The Real Difference Between Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, Boomers, and Silence, and what they mean for America's future. Welcome, Jean. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you briefly tell us what are the general traits of the generations, not stereotypes, or maybe they are stereotypes? Yeah.
Yeah, so the word generations was traditionally used to mean generations within a family. So grandparents, parents, children. But now we talk about social generations. So that would be the silent generation, born 1925 to 1945. So their name is really a misnomer. They really changed a lot of things. Two famous members, Martin Luther King Jr. and Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Okay.
Then the boomers, born 1946 to 1964. So silence changed the law. Boomers changed hearts and minds in terms of just a lot of outdated social rules going away.
There were more boomers for a long time than any other generation, right?
Right. That's where they get their name from, was the huge baby boom after World War II. So very, very large generation, still a very large generation.
Okay.
Followed by Gen X, a much smaller generation, 1965 to 79. That's where
That's
the
why
middle
they're feeling
child.
ignored.
Yeah,
Yes.
feeling ignored and skipped over. But, Gen X brings their own strengths, very practical, really arguably the last generation to have a unified pop culture experience. I'm a Gen Xer. We love our pop culture. My favorite part of the book was talking about the very strange Saturday morning cartoons that we watched that I think were written by a bunch of boomers who were stoned, as far as I could tell. That's my guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we have millennials, so born 1980 to 1994. And they become known for kind of breaking down institutions. So marriage, religion, things like that, having a lot of self-confidence and optimism, although that's curdled a little bit in the last few years. Then Gen Z, so born 1995 to nobody knows yet, but we're kind of getting a consensus around 2009, maybe for the last year. So Gen Z is the first generation to spend their entire adolescence in the age of the smartphone. So and that's had ripple effects across many areas of their lives in terms of their experience with social interaction and lots of other things. So after Gen Z, that's another one where we don't really know yet, but there's consensus forming around alphas. So after Gen Z, we have another younger generation. And to name them, we have a problem because we ran out of letters. So what are we going to do? So we'll go back to the beginning of the alphabet, call them alphas, is what a lot of people have said.
That's the baby children coming up now. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So that younger group is still in elementary school, middle school, maybe the beginning of high school.
And this is what you write, I found so interesting, that the generation we are born into impacts every aspect of our life. Think about that, y'all. It impacts our attitudes, our values, our economic conditions, our opportunities, even our well-being. Some people have challenged this idea. How so?
Yeah. Well, I think pretty much everyone agrees that growing up now, living now is completely different from what it was like to live 100 years ago.
Right.
Or 50 years ago, or even 20 years ago. There's just so many changes in technology and the way that we live, the way that we relate to each other and everything else. Where you get the challenges is people say, well, why are we putting people into these arbitrary 15 to 20-year groups? Well, because that's really an easier way to study people. Otherwise, how would we have the language? Would we have to say each individual birth year, people born in the 70s? And there are some reasons to group people that way. It allows us to just understand more about each other, which is really the point. Not to point fingers or stereotype, but to try to understand each other better. That's why I got into doing this in the first place.
Okay, so you write about a phenomenon called the slow life strategy. What is that?
Yeah, so it explains so much about how things have changed over the generations. So when you have a society that's just more technologically complex, people live longer because we have better medical care. And then education takes longer to finish. So it slows down the whole life cycle, like not day to day, but in terms of years, that people take longer to grow up and longer to grow old. So in childhood, kids are less independent. Teenagers are now much less likely than, say, Gen X was at the same age to have a driver's license or to have
They're
a paid
less
job.
likely.
Yes, much less likely.
And why is that they're less likely? That's what I hear. The teenagers
Yes,
now don't
that's right.
have driver's license.
That's right.
Nor care about driving.
Right.
And why is that?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. So one is the parties on Snapchat or Instagram, but that's one element.
Yeah.
But it is also this slow life strategy of they just are not as eager to do adult things in the way that Gen Xers or even millennials were at the same age. They look at having a driver's license and they're like, you know.
Oh, see, I thought it was because of Uber.
Well, until really recently, you couldn't take Uber until you were 18. Plus, we see the decline in driver's licenses, even in rural areas where Uber isn't around. Uber's expensive too. And it's also not just the driver's license. They're less likely to have a paid job. They're less likely to go out on dates. They're less likely to drink alcohol.
So nobody's getting jobs at 15 and 16 anymore.
Not as much.
Yeah.
Not as much. It's much less common. So all of those adult things, those happen later. So they're just taking longer to do those things.
That's why it's called the slow life strategy.
Yeah, that's right. And then it shows up in young adulthood too. There's this reluctance to become an adult. You know, it's now a verb. It's adulting. Right. And that's and nobody ever says adulting for all the fun things about being an adult, like being independent. It's things like doing laundry and paying your bills.
Yes.
And it gives that focus on, oh, that's no fun. But just on the practical matter, young adults take longer to settle into a career, to get married, to have children. But it goes on because middle-aged people look and feel younger than their parents or grandparents did at the same age.
Thank God for hair color.
Yeah. It's actually biomarkers too. They've looked at it. And
Is it?
We actually are younger than a few decades ago.
It's not just hair color.
Yeah, no, it isn't.
Nora Ephron once said that hair color is the greatest gift ever given to women. That lady color. Yeah. It is. It made a huge difference because, you know, it just did.
Yeah.
And I will always color my hair. I will be in the casket colored. So go ahead. Yeah.
So that's middle age. And then just as people get older, they enjoy more years of health and more years of life.
Yeah. And so all of that has contributed to the slow life strategy.
Yes.
Everything I do begins with intention. You become exactly what you believe is possible, especially the Oprah podcast. You're doing good, Aiden. I believe when people share their personal journeys with authenticity.
Never thought of it like that.
I love that you've never thought of it that way before. And with intention, something beautiful happens. We recognize pieces of our own lives in theirs. We realize that actually helps, right? We are not alone. Life is a journey, and how we navigate it matters. That's why I am so excited to welcome our friends at Geico as the official insurance partner for the Oprah podcast. For 90 years, Geico has been there for the highs and the lows, with people through life's exciting moments and supporting them when the road takes an unexpected turn. Geico's protection has given customers the peace of mind to keep moving forward. And that support matters at every point along the way. A first car, a new home, a teenager learning to drive, a delay, a breakdown, a claim. These are the moments that remind us why it matters to feel protected before life changes course. And Geico is there to make the journey more manageable, to help guide you with insurance designed to keep you covered through it all. Because life happens in ways we can't always predict. And with the right support, we keep driving forward. And that, dear listener, is everything. So Amanda Schneider is a researcher and writer, and her upcoming book is called Work for What's Next: Why Workplace Culture is Failing and How the Next Generation Can Fix It. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
So I'm so happy that we're having this conversation because I hear all the time the, differences between the generations in the workplace. And you say work is broken. How so?
So I think we are actually changing the vernacular when we think about work. And I think, unfortunately, right now, we're focused on the wrong problem. When we hear people talk about work today in the media, especially, it's around return to office. But we can't fix a how problem with a where solution. Bringing them back won't matter if there's a problem with how we're working. So the next generations who are naturally digital first, meaning they see the world through a digital mindset, can really help us figure out how to evolve work for this phygital era, meaning blending physical and digital work.
Right. And so I know that some Gen Zers say that they've gotten a bad rap. Do you think Gen Zers have gotten a bad rap in the workplace?
Definitely.
People say they don't want to work as hard as their parents.
Yeah.
They demand work-life balance.
Yep.
And don't really believe in loyalty to the company. Are those generalizations true?
They're true, but there's another perspective there.
Okay, what is it?
So if we want to look at their perspective, we have to understand how they think. And I think that we have to do more to bring these generations together. So if I had to summarize kind of what's shifting, work used to be a noun. And I think some older generations think about work as a physical place, meaning when my dad said he was going to work, it meant he was physically taking his bag and he was going to an office, right?
Yes.
When these younger generations think I'm going to work, if you look at how my kids hear me when I say I'm going to work, it means I'm going to open my laptop somewhere. Might be at an office, might be at home, might be somewhere in between.
That's a fundamental difference in the way we perceive the languaging of it.
I think it's a fundamental difference in how these different generations see the world.
Okay.
And so to fix work, we're going to have to really understand and fix the systems that are evolving from a noun to a verb.
Jean, you even write that Gen Z is skeptical for the need for hierarchy in the workplace. You call this flattening. Mm-hmm. Explain what that is.
Yeah, so it goes along with individualism, just more focus on the self and less on others. It's been another big change in the culture over the years that shaped generations. So in the workplace, it just means a lot less hierarchy. And we've seen this across many decades, that it used to be people would call their boss by their last name, Mr. Jones, Miss Patel, right? And now it's Mike or Priya. You call them by the first name. Sometimes you might even call them bro if you're in Gen Z.
Yeah, really.
Just much more casual. And we see this in dress.
You call your boss bro?
I don't.
Yeah, but you would call some people call their bosses.
My kids probably will. My kids call me bro.
Okay. All right.
I am from San Diego.
Okay.
Explain some of it.
Okay.
Yeah. But it comes out in dress too, that it used to be people would wear suits to work and really dress up to work. And then it was, in the 90s, we had casual Friday, and now every day is casual Friday.
Yeah.
And again, for my kids, maybe people looking at them, I'm kind of wondering if in the future people will end up at work wearing pajama pants. Maybe we're already there.
Yeah,
It's
I think
possible.
we are already there.
And it also just comes in how people relate to each other, that it used to be much more common for bosses just to tell employees, okay, this is what you're going to do. And they would go and do it. And now it's much more of a team mentality and much more of the manager working with people rather than ordering them around, and talking more about why we're doing what we're doing and why it's important rather than just go do this because that's what I told you to do.
Well, the baby boomers are pushing off retirement. And, Congress is even considering raising the retirement age from 67, I hear, to 70. And today's college graduates have been described as trying to merge on a freeway and nobody is letting you in. Mm-hmm. So I would like both of your reactions to that. Mm-hmm. What do you say?
I think it's definitely a challenge today. We need to think about new systems, meaning more consulting options. Gig economy is actually growing. That's very attractive to Gen Z. Mm-hmm. I think it's also very attractive to, maybe boomers that are ready to retire but don't want to step totally out of the workforce. So I think there's a real opportunity to relook at some of these systems around this evolving perception of what work needs to look like for the future.
So how do you think this is impacting the younger generations?
Well, I mean, there's some good news here. As boomers are a very large generation, many of them are retiring. That opens up a lot of opportunities for young workers. I mean, I think we really saw that a few years ago, right after the pandemic. It opened up a lot of those opportunities. It's just now at least perception is AI is taking a lot of those opportunities away. So there's a real reconsideration.
There was a time when everybody was talking about quiet quitting their jobs. And now I think the thing is job hugging. What changed?
Yeah, I think it's this era of risk aversion. You talk about the slow life. I think we're shifting from an era of kind of slow life, lots of friction, to a fast life with not much friction at all. I think it's why we're hearing about this, not a lot of grit from younger generations, maybe because they haven't had to develop it kind of in the same way. That is really going to have us rethink how we're looking at all of our systems.
And so all of the stereotypes about generations, we've had this for years, have we not, Jane? Everybody stereotypes generations.
Yes. But I mean, that's one of the reasons I got into the field in the first place, looking at surveys where you look at what young people have to say about themselves, because then you're not stereotyping, you're listening.
Mm-hmm. And what have you learned the most about the Gen Zers?
Oh, so many things. But if we're going to focus on work, some of those ideas around work ethic, that is what they say themselves. They are less willing to work overtime. They're less likely to say that work is a central part of their life. They also are more likely to say that they want a job where they can help others.
More likely to say.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's because of what Amanda was saying. Work doesn't mean to them what it meant to our generation or to the Gen X generation. It actually doesn't mean the same.
Maybe not.
Well, we should ask them.
Yeah.
Jody is Gen Z and moved to New York to pursue a career in fashion. And she works for a luxury brand and says work-life balance is very important. Jody, tell us why.
Yes. So work-life balance is very important to me because of the way that I grew up. So I grew up in a Filipino immigrant family. So they worked to survive and to support the family. So work-life balance wasn't a priority for them. So for me, when it came to my career, I had a dreamer mentality. I took a different career path than them. I moved from California to New York to pursue fashion and styling. I worked multiple jobs, including retail, worked my way up the corporate ladder in luxury fashion. And it gave me stability to continue to build my business, but also still have that stable income. So work-life balance is really important. I set hard deadlines and hard boundaries between myself and work. And sometimes that may be perceived as like, I'm not working as hard, but I am. I'm just
come 5
doing
o'clock,
it strategically. You're out. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this is so interesting because I have, mentored a lot of girls from South Africa who were at my school. And now I think, I don't know what generation they are, but anyway, I had one of my girls who started working as an architect, tried very hard to get a job as an architect right out of USC and got a job with an architectural firm here in New York, really prominent architectural firm, started working. 4 months in, she's calling me about work-life balance. And I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? You got the job. There's no such my generation, there was no such thing as work-life balance. And I think this pendulum was way over on the other side and we swung too far. Mm-hmm. But the idea that you're supposed to have work-life balance when you first start a job is just a foreign concept to our generation. Mm-hmm. But you believe that is your right.
I believe it's my right. I know there are certain times, like I'm not afraid to go ahead and stay later during busy times, but normal times where work is manageable, I'm off the clock.
And don't call me on the weekends and don't call me past all that.
But I also do work in a.
And how's that working for you?
It's great. I love it. I'm very fortunate to work in a company that has good work-life balance, and most of us don't work on the weekends.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far the biggest generational difference in work attitudes when you take age and career stage out of the equation. So that work-life balance piece. So this is one of the biggest generational divides because there's a lot of baby boomer and sometimes even Gen Xer managers who look at this and say that didn't exist when I was starting up. And when I was coming up in this job, it just wasn't there. And they see it as a lack of work ethic. Yet Gen Z says, look, I want to have a life. I want to get enough sleep. I want to have mental health and wellness. And they have a point. So
They do have a point.
You get that divide. And one place where the divide really ends up coming up a lot is the idea of a mental health day. So there's a lot of older managers who are like, you want a mental health what?
Yes.
Really? But then there's Gen Z who says, no, of course that should be completely acceptable, just as it's acceptable to take a day off when you're physically sick.
Yeah, I know. I had somebody who told me that someone in the Gen Z generation had said that to them, and they said, as the employer, the weekend is your mental health day. Yeah, which is the way we all grew up. So is the reason why we have this divide is because there needs to be a shift in the way we, the older generation, thinks about the younger generation.
That could be one way to think about it, or it could be that both have a point, and we have to meet somewhere in the middle.
If one generation has expectations, the other generation doesn't care or thinks that your expectations are completely unreasonable, how do we ever find middle ground?
Yeah, I mean, we can find things that are the win-win solutions for giving the generation what they want in the short term. That's also good for them in the long term and for the organization in the long term. And there are some of those solutions, like more coverage for mental health care might be one of those examples.
I know, but then I would be wary of lots of people talk about mental health days, and mental health days for a lot of people is, I don't feel so good.
Right. And that's why those are hard. The mental health day piece is difficult, but
yes,
bringing more attention to, so like some companies are doing this cool thing where they give starting employees a wellness grant and they can spend it however they want. They can spend it for therapy. They can spend it to buy a better mattress or an expensive pillow or whatever will make their life better.
So Susan is Gen X and was an elementary school teacher for 20 years. And she wrote to us saying, if you want to know what the generational divide is like, come sit in a public school staff meeting. Oh boy, I can only imagine what that's like. Yeah.
Well, you can tell the generations without even having conversation yet. The Gen X and the boomers will be in their corner with a stack of papers grading, heads down. And there was a lot of the millennials that collaborated and talked. And then at the end of the meeting, the younger generation would have their hands in the air asking why we're doing this. And then you see like the glares, like, because we're going to do this. That was our way, is you were told kind of what to do and we did it. And the younger generations of teachers are coming in and talking about it, talking about how we're going to fix the problems, especially with mental health. After COVID is where I saw the largest generational divide happen. Kids came in, the alpha came into my classroom, and they are so used to being behind screens that normally when you say, let's get a partner, the kids want to get partners. And I was seeing 10 kids not wanting to have that peer interaction. Mm-hmm. They couldn't. They didn't know how. But the most interesting part to me was the adults don't know how to teach that. We were never taught to talk about our feelings or emotions. We pushed on, I'm just fine. I'm fine. Mm-hmm. When you're crumbling. And now these kids are in front of you and they're talking through body language, through reactions, through anger. And the older generations, and I told my students, I don't know how to help you, but I'm going to find a way. I told my daughter Madeline one day, I don't know how to mom you through this. I'm going to Google it. She said, did you just say you're going to Google it? I didn't know how to help her. That never happened to me. But I think that what was so wonderful in my classroom was I gave them transparency and vulnerability. And they want that. But there's so many adults, we all know, we didn't learn how to parent. We didn't learn how to get through conflict.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I gathered from reading Generation, there are distinct differences, and we, as the older generation, aren't prepared for a generation that actually grew up in this technological age of being on their phones, and we just aren't prepared.
No,
we just aren't prepared.
And
so, what are you suggesting?
I really think there's some great social and emotional curriculum coming out. Teachers kind of white knuckle the book because when they're trying to teach these ways to communicate, they aren't used.
And there we go. I don't know, man. I don't know what to think of this Nolan Wells situation. Only thing that I can say, that's without a shadow of a doubt, that he was unalive, and his body was found, and boom, we got this massive overhaul of individuals. You know what I'm saying? They're becoming, detectives and this, that, and the third. And making a mockery. The young man can't rest properly. Parents can't grieve properly. And again, in a situation like this, of course, I get it. But man, where's the respect? You know what I'm saying? Where's the decency? Where's the morale? But again, that shit, that's out the window, man. It's out the window. But again, man, hopefully a lot of these things that's coming out about the case, hopefully, they can help or reflect or, bring some type of light of justice to the case itself. Not only just for Nolan and the parents, but for the fucking public, because we just do a lot of guessing and just crazy speculative. And again, I'm not saying that these people are wrong for speculating and trying to conclude this, that, and the third. Sometimes shit, where the law may have missed, sometimes the people, you hear me, we do a good job. But this ain't a situation of they need your help or need our help right now, so they doing whatever they doing. Hopefully, man, that toxicology before it come back and they don't find anything in the system. Hopefully, we hear about the lungs and shit like that, where it wasn't no water, nothing in his lungs. Hopefully it comes back, period, man. Even if these things were, you know what I'm saying, just man, I just hope they come back with something. I hope it gives them enough findings for this to be a criminal investigation. And again, I don't even know why it wasn't a criminal investigation or being worked like a murder from the jump. But again, I digress. But with that being said, man, we finna get on up out of here. Hey, man, listen, y'all. Y'all know what it is, man. Man, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Big ups to all my goddesses, a model of kings and goddesses, this moderators for the channel. Big ups to all my Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Facebook supporters, man. Appreciate y'all. A big shout out to Real Spill for hitting panel earlier. My panel security in the building, two wheels, man. Everybody, man, just big ups to everybody, man. You feel me? We got to be a community. We got to make this shit grow. You know what I'm saying? That when I say grow, make this not the channel, that too, but us as individuals, man. We gotta realize and figure out how to come together, man, to beat those odds. And show that that we can, come together, that we can work together, that we will stand together. You know what I'm saying? Man, listen, until then, man, continue to be great, know you great, and always be great. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to leave y'all like I came to you, man. Keep everybody your thoughts, prayers, views, and meditations. Once again, keep every one of your thoughts, your prayers, your views, and meditations. And lastly, family, keep every one of your thoughts, prayers, views, and meditations. And don't forget to master these 5 key components of life: love, peace, respect, motivation, and inspiration. That's love, peace, respect, motivation, and inspiration. And one last time, family, that's love, peace, respect, motivation, and inspiration. You know what I'm saying? And don't forget to eat water that thing and sprinkle a little support on top, because a little support go a long, 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 long way, y'all. You feel me? Hey, man, with that being said, man, listen, y'all. Hey, those that fuck with us, fuck with us. Those that don't, fuck with us anyway, man. With that being said, all superheroes don't wear capes, but they still need their theme music. So to all my superheroes, all my Beardonians, and all my beautiful people, man. Grand evening, grand afternoon, and grand rising. Take one, whichever one, you know what I'm saying, work for you. That's the one you run with. You feel me? But yeah, man, we out. Peace.
Guys, guys, yeah. Guys, 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 yeah. Guys, my name is Cito. Guys, guys, you already know that dog. Guys, guys, guys. This the hottest show you gon' find around. If young niggas ain't known, you need to ask around. This is bearded conversation. It's all love and no hate. Around here we good, but we aim to be great. Hit back in the debate. Enjoy your Scooby snacks. Around here we just talk about this and all that. We talk real life every day and every night. And if you need to clear the air, you can bring your wife. We got church on Sunday, that's on the west side. We got virtual reality, in case you're scared of outside. See, we got what you need, and that's a guarantee. The best thing about it is absolutely free. Bearded conversations, all love ain't no haters. Enjoy Scooby snacks while we get back to the business. Don't matter if you black or white, who you think is wrong or who is right. These are just opinions I'm inside from a different walk of life. Yeah, see, my name is Cito. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, buy this man a coffee. Don't forget to lead over follow. Don't forget to love those that love you. And don't ever forget that you ain't never been richer than you are right now.
Like the video, man. Thumb up the video, man. Like the video, man. Thumb up the video, man.
And don't forget, y'all, hey, man, when we come together, may we always meet on the level. Once we're in each other's presence, may we always be humble and plumb. And when we leave each other's presence, man, we always part on the swell. Some more to be, some more to be, some more to be, some may it be, family. Hey, man, peace, y'all, man. Don't forget to tap in to be the conversation, man. Every Sunday to Saturday, man. You know, we got something going on every day of the strong. Tap in, tune in, come part of the family, man. Hey, let's get it. Y'all know what it is. Same brown time, same brown channel. Y'all come brown now, you hear?